Very good morning to you. Welcome to the 20th day of the month and the second day of the week. It's a Tuesday. Welcome aboard the AM show. I am Benjamin Akakpo. Today, you're going to be seeing me doing this one with my pizza at CBD. Well, coming up, of course, we're going to have the news shortly with Pakwesi Shandorf. He's lurking around here somewhere. You'll see him in your shot shortly. But right after that, we get into the news review with energy analyst Kwejo Poku, who is our guest. But after that, we get into our big stories for the day. And of course, today we follow up on the Wa killings. Now, that situation is becoming a very problematic one. We'll be telling you about the latest developments on the back of that. We'd also be speaking to the Right to Information group. They, in fact, will be coming our way to give us some briefings on their activities so far. The Commission has been receiving review applications from persons whose applications for information have been denied by certain public institutions. Now, are citizens patronizing their services then? How is the Commission helping to bring out relevant information to the public? Well, joining us for that conversation, we have Liz Hayford-Nassari, Deputy Chairperson, RTI Commission. She'll be joining us right here on the show. But also coming up, the National Road Safety Authority is seeking to restrict minibuses to intra-city travels of not more than 40 kilometers. The NRSA says this will reduce the carnage on our roads. Why exactly is this? We've been looking into that to find out why this new initiative is being brought to bear. You get to join us in the course of the show with your thoughts, whatever it is that you're thinking about our show, suggestions otherwise, via the hashtag AMShow. And at the tail end of the show, when we activate the phone lines, you get to call as well on that number, which you know already. So stay with us, stick with us. It's going to be another fantabulous AM show. But up next, the news served by Pakwesi Shandorf. Stay.
Coming to you live from our studios at Kokomlimli. My name is Pakwesi Shandorf, and it's now time for the AM News. Let's start off with the Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry, who has assured residents of the Upper West region of government's commitment in ensuring their safety. Speaking at the Wa Nas Palace, Mr. Derry commended the Wala for steps taken to maintain peace in his traditional area. He also asked the youth to desist from attempting to usurp the powers of the security agencies.
And that we would do anything possible to support the requisite agencies, police, immigration, dealing with foreigners and the rest of them. But I did make it clear that in all these matters, the policy is for the rule of law to be enforced. That if you have information, you give the information to the security agencies to use. You do not resort to self-help or to usurp the role of security agencies. So that we have asked the chief to thank the community for their passion to help, for the information that they've been given and continue to give, but they should leave the real work to the police, only giving the information. Don't attack anybody, because if you attack anybody, you yourself will be a subject of investigation. So broadly, these are the matters. Special condolences by the President, assured that the competent agencies are at it, as you can already observe, and ask that the community should cooperate with the agencies without usurping their role. Let no one take the law into his own hands. We would not allow that. And we would give you the pledge that we continue to support the police to do their work by supporting them. And yes, I believe that the police would address that issue of numbers here. Everywhere I go, people want police, but I believe that they will do the needful and be able to equip the police here in terms of personnel and the rest of them. All I ask for is your cooperation. Thank you.
As for resources, we have seen resources around last question. We have seen the resources coming in. But in terms of looking for the perpetrators of this heinous crime, are we going to rest on our oars?
No, we are not going to rest on our oars. The people you see in uniform are only part of the police. We have a part of the police that is trained in investigation, trained in crime scene, and the CID and all that. Believe me, this police leadership knows what it's about. God bless us. Thank you.
The traditional rulers call
Meanwhile, Inspector General of Police Dr. George Akufo-Dampare is also in Wa to seek first-hand information from the people on the recent suspected murders in the area. 9 persons have been allegedly killed in the last 8 months, with 7 of them being private security men. Rafiq Salam reports.
The Inspector General of the Ghana Police Service, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, on arrival in the Wa municipality, first paid a courtesy call on the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Sali. After his meeting with the Upper West Regional Minister, the IGP went down to town and interacted with some people in the Wa municipality on the roadside.
How dark is your place?
Very dark, very, very dark. No street lights, no nothing, no street lights. And I was going to fact, very
no street light, no nothing. There's no building for you to live in.
I'm gonna have to stay in. But if I say nothing, at least you understand.
I understand.
Yes.
Because you are my teacher, so I understand.
Very well.
The overlord of the Walla traditional area, Navuseni said the people the fourth, in his meeting with the IGP, did not mince words on the poor state of the region's security. The one-hour speech was articulated in a statement by his spokesperson, Nakadir Ibrahim.
When you realized the killings were getting one too many, you sent a team of investigators to support the criminal investigation department within the police service in the region. When again the police service in the region got overwhelmed by the increasing spate of killings, you sent more men to beef up the number of your men on the ground. Admittedly, however, upon hindsight, one can describe the actions not only as knee-jerk reactions, but also as too little, too late.
The Walla overlord opined that the recent spate of murders has exposed the weakness and vulnerability of the country's security services.
The Upper West region, so close to the borders of the country, should have been adequately catered for in terms of security, particularly in these turbulent times. These killings have exposed our insecurity, our nakedness, immediately. This should be accompanied by adequate logistical support. We also expect a shake-up within the rank and file of men and women in the service who have overstayed their welcome in the Upper West region.
It was revealed that one suspect was arrested by a search party and handed over to the police. The winner in this case is calling on the police to do a thorough job in order to get to the bottom of the matter.
We got the news this afternoon about the arrest of one suspect, highly suspected by the people to be behind, if not all, but some of these atrocities that have been committed against us unduly.
The Inspector General of the Ghana Police Service, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, in an interaction with residents outside the palace, stated that despite the perception that the police were slow, they were up to the task.
So already every security agency is involved in this exercise we are doing. But as a lead agency, we take full command and responsibility and make sure that we deepen it to the level that will keep you so safe. That's why you could see all the motorbikes, all the personnel, and the undercover special intelligence teams, the undercover special investigation teams working day and night with most of you in the communities. Now some of you have seen some of them dressed as if they work in the market, as if they work at the shops, all towards getting to the bottom of this matter.
Dr. George Dampare said they are working on the quiet and with little noise, and hence the success.
If we are not committed, we will come have speeches and 3 seconds we are somewhere else. But because we are committed, we talk less. We want want our work to speak for us. Because what the people want to hear is not talking. What the people want to hear is not casting insinuations. What they want to hear is that you've done your best to protect us. You've done your best to protect our properties. You've done your best to make our community safe for us to live our life. And that is what we are committed to.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Away from that, now imagine drinking water from a source polluted with human excreta. How bizarre, you may be asking. Well, that is the sad reality of the Densu River. Farmers and fisher folks along the river are worried about the continuous pollution of the water body. The Ghana Water Company Limited raised similar alarms that many houses along the riverbank were channeling their fecal matter into the river. Michael Papania Shale visited the Weja area and its environs and now reports.
This is the Weja Dam, also called the River Densu. This is the largest source of water for the Ghana Water Company as it tries to make water available to millions of homes in the Greater Accra region. But that work is under threat. Many people are putting up their houses very close to this source of water, contaminating it with their sewage water as well. It's increasingly making it difficult for the Ghana Water Company to treat the water here. It tells us that it's now had to use millions of Ghana cedis to treat the same quantity of water because of the activities of not just encroachers, but individuals who are deliberately channeling their sewage water into the Densu. There's been attempts in the past to try to safeguard the sanctity of the water. The Forestry Commission, through the Ministry for Lands and Natural Resources, planted trees along the riverbank. But we understand many people have decided to cut them down to get access to the river. Again, there's been attempts from the Ghana Water Company to try and fish out individuals responsible for the illegal channeling of sewage into the river body, some of whom have faced court. But that doesn't seem to be enough. The Ghana Water Company is warning that should these activities not end as soon as possible, two things will happen. One is either you don't get enough water through your pipes, or two, you're going to have to pay more for the same quantity of water. Whilst the Ghana Water Company is concerned about the activities of individuals very close to the Weja River, it appears that more buildings continue to spring up, like the one that you see behind me, uncompleted, but works are still ongoing. The question is, how do these people get permit to build in a restricted area like this? At Joma, some fisher folks who grow their fish on the river are concerned over the continuous pollution of the water. Richard Amebo is a fish farmer.
We need to protect the water because when it's contaminated, the fishes will not survive in the water. They will all die and you lose all your money. So we are watching every angle that no one put anything, toilet or anything into the water so that we get a clean water and work here. You can see many women come here, they depend on us here to survive. Yes.
Richard is also secretary to the Landlords Association at Joma. He says they have earmarked a large portion of the riverbank to serve as a greenbelt to stop the further encroachment of the Densu riverbank. He says government must also come in to help their efforts.
I can say in the first place, we have a nice business here. But nowadays, it's not easy for us at all. You know, the Densu River is from Atiwa Forest, passes through the Densu in Sawam here. So the sources where they are coming from, what they are doing here is also impact of the affection of the water. And at times too, the galamsey they are doing, when you go to eastern region, that's it, a river enters into the Densu. And they are doing galamsey. So at the same time, it comes here. And the waterwise people, to when they treat their water to, the remainder is coming into the water. So you will see that these days at all, we are not taking the business for granted at all. It's very hard for us to get something out of it.
They are hoping that something will be done about this as soon as possible. Else it won't just be doom for those who want water through their pipes, but also for fish farmers who work on the Densu River. For JoyNews, Michael Ashale.
The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association wants government to urgently present the insurance packages promised frontline workers during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. President Akufo-Addo proposed incentives for frontline health workers, including insurance packages, but some health workers who were victims of COVID-19 say they are yet to receive any packages. More on the following report.
Ashanti Regional Secretary for the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association says none of its members who were victims of COVID-19 has received the insurance package. Patrick Tete says this is causing disaffection among members.
Since the inception of COVID-19, frontline health workers, including nurses and midwives, have been facing a lot of challenges. The major challenge is the insurance package the government promised all nurses and midwives, which stated that nurses and midwives who will be infected with the virus will be having or receiving insurance packages. As at now, we've not gotten any information from our members who had the COVID-19 of getting those insurances. So we use this opportunity to plead with the government to go back to the drawing table and reactivate that insurance policy to boost our members' morale so that they can educate the public the more.
He was speaking at a training program for health workers on vaccine hesitancy. The training by the Ghana Health Service is to adequately arm the health workers with knowledge to handle people who have developed dissatisfaction with the COVID-19 vaccines. Health Promotion Officer at the Regional Health Directorate, Salibaba Owusu-Addo, says though the region is not recording new cases of COVID-19, there is a need to build herd immunity.
We have not recording figures as we used to, but when we go to the advanced areas in the developing countries, they are still recording even deaths when it comes to COVID. But for us, because of the work that we have put in as a service for Ghana Health Service in collaboration with our partners, people are not really coming on board because, number one, they think that the COVID is over. It is not over. And the vaccination is not a cure for COVID. It's for protection.
Religious beliefs, fear of vaccination, and side effects of COVID-19 vaccines are among factors crippling the intake of the dose. The Ghana Health Service says the hesitancy rate among health workers is minimal, but there is the need to retain them to lead public education.
We wanted to increase the immunization coverage of the COVID vaccine so that at the end of this presentation, we'll be equipped with knowledge so that we will get enough to tell Ghanaians, and even we nurses ourselves will get a lot of information and knowledge so that we can educate the members and the general public on the uptake of vaccine, especially the hesitancy, the myth regarding the uptake of the COVID vaccine.
For JoyNews, Emmanuel Kweku reporting.
Men are being encouraged to assist their partners in early detection and treatment of breast and cervical cancers. The Ashanti Regional Health Director, Dr. Emmanuel Kojotinkran, says men are best positioned to help detect the two leading killer cancers amongst women. He was speaking on the sidelines of the launch of a pilot health project which seeks to reduce mortality associated with breast and cervical cancer in the Ashanti region. Himitea of our health director has more in the following report.
According to the World Health Organization, out of estimated 750,000 women who contract breast cancer, 266,000, representing 2.5%, die annually. The situation is worse in developing countries, where 87% of the deaths occur due to late reporting of cases at health facilities. In Ghana, 2,200 women are estimated to be suffering from the two leading cancers, breast and cervical cancers, annually. In the midst of stigmatization of patients, the piloted integrated solutions for early detection of breast and cervical cancer is expected to give hope and relief to people suffering from women's cancer.
We are depending a lot on the partners, the husbands, to support us because all the two conditions, the breast cancer and then the cervical cancer, can be detected as early as possible by the male partners than even the females themselves. So we will have to teach them on how to maybe examine their wives' partners to see if there is any condition. Then as early as possible we can pick it. Cervical cancer, the early presentation is pain during intercourse. Yes, so, and then maybe bleeding. So during intercourse, you can detect whether your partner is having pain. So you don't have to just neglect it.
Japaigo, a non-profit affiliate of the Johns Hopkins University in the US, and Roche, are partnering the Ghana Health Service to design, develop and demonstrate a scalable model that improves access to early detection and treatment of women's cancers in the Bekwai municipality. The Women's Cancer Project will be replicated in other parts of the country. Country Director of Japaigo, Dr. Nanka Bruce, explains the importance of the project.
Breast and cervical cancer remain top cancer killers globally and the most frequent cause of cancer deaths among men in Africa. In Ghana, breast cancer has the highest incidence of all cancers, while cervical cancer is the highest cancer mortality cause. Women often have to travel very long and cumbersome distances to overwhelming diagnostic appointments. We know there's a lack of integrated screening for multiple cancer sites and a lack of integrated screening guidelines. These are the challenges that we all acknowledge, which led to collaboration between Japaigo, Roche, and Ghana Health Service.
The integrated solutions approach means collaborating partners bring to bear all specialties to address breast and cervical cancer issues. Dr. Kate Dawson, Principal Science Lead at Roche, is excited at the prospects of the project.
Think about the burden of disease with women with cervical and breast cancer. The real goal is for improving the outcomes from a morbidity and mortality perspective for women. And it can't be done without a sustainable, integrated approach where there are pockets of expertise that exist within each of the organizations. So we need to come together and leverage all of our...
Marcy, for JoyNews, I'm Interior reporting.
Now, members of the Benjamin Herbal Association in the Bono East region are appealing to government to provide support to traditional herbal medicine manufacturers across the country. A move, they say, would enhance their livelihoods as well as help reduce the amount spent on the the amount spent on the importation of pharmaceutical products. The group, with support from the UNDP's Global and Environment Facility, which seeks to eradicate poverty through sustainable development, is restoring degraded lands through the planting of herbal plants. Al-Nasabet has more in the following report.
For many years, traditional herbal medicines played a vital healthcare role in many African communities. Accessibility, ability, affordability, as well as cultural acceptance make them a preferred option for many people over continental therapy, and here in Ghana, about 10% of patients herbal medicine. Despite these startling, traditional herbalists across the country say little is being done by policymakers to help streamline their practices. Tremekwesi Daniel is a member of the Benjamin Herbalist Association. Our biggest challenge as traditional herbalists is the fact that we struggle a lot during production because we do not have machines to aid our work. I had to manually pound this particular medicine because we don't have money to package it well. I only have to tie it in this plastic bag, and we are also unable to advertise it, and that is heavily affecting our business activity. He is of a strong conviction that with enough support to the industry, we will save a lot in terms of the amount spent on the importation of pharmaceutical medicines. The FDA is only concerned about the patients of traditional herbalists. If government would have come to support us, the amount of money we spend in importing drugs would have been saved and the whites would rather have to come to buy from us. And if government takes this step, we won't be empowered in the country. We won't get a lot of money in return. Chairman of the group, Tikube Kwabna, also known as Nana Banda, on his part, noted that with enough support to the group, the herbal industry would help reduce unemployment, especially amongst the youth. This would help reduce unemployment. A lot of people won't be employed through this value chain because currently a lot of people earn money from the production of my medicine. The United Nations Development Programme, through its Global Environment Facility, which seeks to eradicate poverty and reduce inequalities through sustainable development, is partnering the group to help restore degraded lands in the area. Dr. Lalusigi is a resident representative for the UNDP here in Ghana.
We've been working with them through our Global Environment Facility UNDP to support them to restore degraded forests where they are able to get their herbs. We've been able to see some of the areas that have been forested. We hear at least 1,000 seedlings may have been planted, and we've seen some of them. And this is very useful because we believe that people must live in balance with the planet. So it's very important to see how these herbal practitioners are contributing to maintaining the environment.
Dr. Angela believes that the group need to be supported to help it produce in a much more dignified manner.
They definitely are looking for support in the area of machinery, in helping them to be able to produce this in a more dignified manner, to be able to provide for the Ghanaian population, and even in the region and globally.
Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Banda Ahinkro.
That's all for the news. For more, log on to www.myjoyonline.com. My name is Pakwesi Shandoff. I leave you in the company of Benjamin Akakpo and Mapito CBD. Stay.
Well, thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to get into the news review, where we review the biggest stories in the newspapers and beyond. We're joined by energy analyst Kwejo Poku. He'll be popping up shortly as we continue with our conversation. But today, the Daily Graphic and the Ghanaian Times newspapers are back. We also have the Daily Guide newspaper, The Finder, and the Graphic Business. So let's get right down to it. In the Daily Graphic this morning, pictured there President Akufo-Addo and his wife Rebecca arriving at Westminster Abbey for Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. That was the state funeral. And Queen Elizabeth II laid to rest. President, world leaders bid farewell, and myriad world leaders were there yesterday. And everything was done as well to get Joe Biden, American president, at his spouse there. So let's get some details of that story. President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo and his wife Rebecca yesterday joined dignitaries from across the world at Westminster Abbey, London, for the memorable state funeral of the United Kingdom's longest reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. I might as well add that it's not just the United Kingdom. She's only the second when it comes to the longest reigning monarch ever. Now, the president arrived in the UK capital last Sunday and paid tribute to the late British monarch, 96, as he signed the Book of Condolence opened in her honor at Lancaster House in London. He said the Queen had overseen the, quote, dramatic transformation of the Commonwealth into a global, quote, force for good during her 70-year reign. Now, we appreciated very much her relationship with the Commonwealth, and that's Mr. President speaking. We saw a dramatic transformation from a nation of 8 countries when she went on the throne to 56 at the time of her death. He added that the Commonwealth during the Queen's reign had become a very important institution in global affairs, comprising 1/3 of the world's population and a definite force in the global arena. Just a bit of a background. Now, the Queen until 1960 was the country's head of state. In the colonial era, the period before March 6, 1957, her constitutional roles were delegated to the Governor-General, who represented the Queen in the country. Then we know in 52, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah became Prime Minister. Queen Elizabeth then became head of state, with the Prime Minister being the head of government. However, in 1957, she granted a full independence to Ghana, leading to a new constitution, the Republican Constitution, in 1960, under which Dr. Nkrumah was elected first president under that constitution. The Queen visited Ghana in 1961 and also in 1999. Just to wrap, some 2,000 mourners bid farewell to the Queen at the state funeral at Westminster Abbey, and it included over 500 dignitaries with presidents, prime ministers, and foreign royalty among the guests. And like I mentioned, American President Joe Biden was there. French President Emmanuel Macron was also there, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, if you like, was also there. All right, so finally, we've said our farewells to the Queen. But like I said last Friday, she'll be revered, reviled by many, but she'll be fondly remembered many years and maybe decades to come. Let's look at some other stories in the Daily Graphic today. Cabinet approves policy for housing authority, and there's also Ghana card for Ghanaians abroad. Let's go to page 16 for that story. Quickly get there. Okay, so 13 now. How do we get to 16? There you are. All right, so Cabinet approves policy for housing authority, and of course, pictured there, Francis Asensio-Boakye, Minister for Works and Housing. Now, Cabinet has approved a policy for the establishment of the Ghana Housing Authority to execute the country's public housing programs. Furthermore, the Ministry of Works and Housing is collaborating with the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General's Department to develop a framework to facilitate the establishment of the authority. It is envisaged that the establishment of the GHA as an implementing agency will ensure the effective planning, management, and development of the housing sector. Now, the minister disclosed this in an interview with the Daily Graphic in Accra last Tuesday, explaining that after the framework had been developed, it would be sent to Cabinet and then Parliament for approval. My interest in this bit, when it comes to anything housing, is very close to my heart because of the squalor in which a number of people live. I think the last time we were hit with the figure that many millions, of Ghanaians were living in slums, inadequate housing facilities and all of that. And especially putting that side by side with the fact that on the back of COVID-19, a lot of people have seen their income levels depreciate. Then we have the Russo-Ukrainian war. Then we have our own internal factors that have impacted our economy. And you see that many people are not in a good place. They are earning maybe what they used to earn or less, but they have to grapple with costs that are much higher than their pockets. And add the housing deficit to the problem, and you realize that it really is dire. And just to make the point, affordable housing in this country has never been affordable. That's the problem. Anyway, let's see whether we have Kojo Poku. Kojo, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Poku?
I can hear you. Good morning, Ben. How are you?
Okay, I can hear you very faintly.
Yes, I can hear you, Ben. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. How are you doing, Kojo?
Good morning, Ben. Can you hear me? I'm very well. How are you?
I am well. I'm well too. I don't know whether it's the rain and
Good morning.
I'm okay. Kojo. Can you hear me when I speak?
I'm not sure. I hear you clearly. I'm surprised you cannot hear me.
No, it's better now. It's better now.
I can.
All right. So let's pursue the conversation.
I saw your blue glasses somewhere in Europe or in the Western Hemisphere.
You saw it? No. And then it definitely wasn't yours truly. I can guarantee that. I wasn't in London, no.
I saw your blue glasses somewhere in the West, I saw your blue glasses somewhere in the West or in the Western Hemisphere. Where was that?
Oh, okay. That must have been the Netherlands.
So you took your blue glasses to the Netherlands?
Yes, I did. I took them there. Because you're a very interesting point to make to kickstart the show. So let's get into some of the major stories, if you will. And I was just reading about Cabinet approving a policy for the housing authority, and I was linking that to the millions of Ghanaians, as has been proven between 2017 and 2020. I think about 5.5 million or so who were living in inadequate housing facilities. I mean, talking about slums and how we need to do better. I'd also read the story about Queen Elizabeth II being finally laid to rest. Any quick reactions, Kwejo?
Yes, but can you hear me? Because I think we're having a communication problem today.
I can hear you, so you can go right ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and good morning to you and your viewers. Yes, let me go off the back of saying that the world has paid a very great tribute to our queen. You know, we keep saying that she's the queen of the UK. She's not. She's the queen of everyone. Until we gained independence, she was our queen. And since we're a member of Commonwealth, she was the head of Commonwealth. So I think the right perspective is that she has been a mother, a grandmother to most people, and she has been someone that I think everybody who paid time to watch or actually attend should really, we have lost a great figure in this world. I came home every evening and tried to go to Sky News, and I had to fight for the remote for that instance. But I'm happy that we all did our best to make sure that there was a befitting funeral and we watched it. Let me go on to the housing then. Ben, what we don't have in this country is that we do not have a social housing policy.
Right.
And a nation in the state that we are in cannot have a social housing policy, because social housing policy means that you are actually have enough reserves in terms of money to be able to take care of the needed and then the poor, to give them free housing or affordable housing, so as we call it. Because there isn't enough of a surplus for the nation, we are always looking at investors who are not so keen on the affordable housing. Because, put it this way, there is a deficit in housing. If I have money, why would I want to build housing at a very cumbersome arrangement with government? You get a land anywhere in Accra and you build, and people are rushing to buy it. So for me, unless we look at a social housing policy, we can forget about the issue of housing. Because
but when you talk about a social housing policy, then what have we been doing with affordable housing? All the units we've built from Kufuor to this current administration. Then what business have we had even putting up those housing units?
Well, as you rightly said, those affordable housing has never been affordable because they were not under a social policy. They were built by government in association with private investors, but they were not affordable, as you rightly said. Now, all those units built by Kufuor and the ones that have been built subsequently, when you go and ask how much they're going to give it to you for rental, it's not, or sell it to you, it's not cheap.
Right.
Affordable social housing policy is what they had in the UK, where at a certain age, if you can't afford a place to stay, the council, municipality, or the state will give you a place to stay.
Right.
Then you pay the rent at a discounted price. Okay, that is what is our social housing policy. It will be difficult for a country like Ghana to have that, because to have that means to have excess money to be able to use it to spend in that way. One of the things that I think has not helped any housing policy is where we intend to situate most of these houses that we want to build as affordable. Look, we have masses of land in cantonment, masses of land in range, in airport. Who are we giving this land to? We are giving this land to private individuals who are buying it from government for cheap and selling to private investors for millions of dollars. Then when we talk of affordable housing, then you hear of some land in a village. That is where they want the middle class to go and live. Meanwhile, government has land in cantonment. Government has land in range, in airport. What is wrong with government giving these 2-3 acres of land they have in airport, cantonment, and range for the middle class housing policy? So if you want to partner somebody to build housing, I've said this many times, government can give 3 acres, right? The person can build luxury apartments, but in that same complex, you are obliged to build maybe 30 or 40 complex for the middle class, which will be classed as affordable housing. That way, we don't have the segregation that we are doing today. Today, the middle class live outside Accra and the rich live in the middle of Accra. You cannot build a housing policy where you are segregated, where anytime government wants to now give land for affordable housing, it has to be miles away from the city center. That is my problem, and that is what is wrong with these affordable housing policies that we so call it.
I just have to ask you, though, I always do this. So your alternatives, maybe in some 30 seconds, would be what exactly? How would we organize the public-private partnership system? How do we create the social system? And of course, it means that, per what you're saying, if we don't have the surpluses, we wouldn't be, thinking of that. Assuming you were in leadership position, or assuming you were minister for works and housing, what would you do?
The social housing will be a medium to long-term thing. The short-term solution will be to build housing. Look, there is a housing deficit period, okay? So building housing for the middle class is very important. So the short-term solution is to give land in prime areas to developers who will build affordable housing to middle class. Then if you want to look at a social policy, that social policy basically comes into the medium to long term, because that one, the country needs to find money to basically invest in these houses across the country. So that one doesn't have to be in Accra. I have always said that if we want to encourage migration, you can start building affordable housing in, let's say, Sunyani, in Damango, in the Ashanti region area. Then when you post all these new national service or new recruitment for government, you post them to these areas and you give them somewhere to stay. That would encourage them to stay in these areas, because today everybody wants a posting. They want to come to Accra. That is why Accra is choked. So you can also encourage migration to other areas by building, but those housing have to be cheap but can't be free. Okay, so that is the policy for me. I think you can look at medium to long term, but the short term is to give the prime land that we are giving to these rich developers to basically build affordable housing for middle class.
Alrighty, looks like the solutions are there, but are we taking them, and are we ready to take them? That's the question. Let's quickly move to another story on that same page, 16 in the Daily Graphic, and it says Ghana card for Ghanaians abroad. Now, after dealing with part of the problems here, of course, we're not out of the woods yet when it comes to the Ghana card situation in the country, and we're thinking of using it. In fact, we are using it for the SIM card re-registration. Now we're contemplating using it for registration when it comes to voting, a la Electoral Commission. But now the National Identification Authority is rolling out the next phase of its registration exercise to allow all eligible Ghanaians to acquire their Ghana card, which will soon become the only accepted form of national identification. Those to be considered for this next phase will include Ghanaians living abroad and children from 0 up to 15 years. You would recall, Kojo, that we were told by Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the Vice President, that, look, eventually we want to have a system so that if you're born today, we give you a representation of the card, basically. But you get a card, so to speak, but it will not contain your biometrics until you cross the age of 7 or so, when your biometrics are fully formed, and then it will be taken and then you're issued with a card. But now, the phase involves those two categories, Ghanaians living abroad and those between 0 and 15. You know that for now they've been registering those 15 and above who qualify to get SIM cards and all of that. Now, the Executive Secretary of the NIA, Professor Kenneth Agyemang-Ntefu, said this at a briefing event as Ghana joined the world to mark Identity Day for Africa, which fell on September the 16th. Quick questions for you. So we're extending this. On the other hand, we have problems with, people like Aisha Huang getting the cards that they got, though it fell into the right category, that is for foreigners. But the other aspect of the conversation I'd like us to look at has to do with how we're treating the SIM card re-registration, the Ghana card not being available for everybody. The last time I spoke to the PRO, still a number of Ghanaians who, whether through their fault or not their own, don't have the Ghana card. Your take?
Well, Ben, the number one problem we have with the Ghana card and NIA is that they don't have a very good backbone.
They don't have a very good what?
A good backbone. The backbone, the infrastructure they are using to do the NIA exercise is not as sophisticated as it should be. It's very simple. If you are trying to compile database of all your citizens, be it in the country or abroad, and also compile database of citizens and non-citizens, you need a very good IT infrastructure. This IT infrastructure should have a very sophisticated software, which at least should have artificial intelligence, AI. Okay? Now, I don't think that NIA has that sophisticated software because, look, if NIA captures my database and they have my biometrics, I do not have to go to any other institution to repeat that exercise. Anybody who is IT savvy will tell you this. There is something called API. The API is like a key code that gives everybody access to your database. So today, we now see this running around to the banks, running around to the networks and providers to do the same process I did when I went to get my Ghana card. So my bank calls me that I have to now come in and do a verification of my account. I take my Ghana card. They now take my fingerprints again, and they take the Ghana card and input the information into their system. That should not be happening in 2022 if NIA has the sophisticated software they're supposed to have. All this queuing at the telcos should not be happening if NIA had the sophisticated database that they're supposed to have. It's just...
Are you suggesting the software the NIA is using is obsolete? Is that what you're suggesting?
I don't know what they're using, but until they come out to tell us otherwise, yes, I would say that they don't have the right software. Because in the world of IT, okay, that doesn't exist. With a database provider, you are a registry of database. So what the NIA become is a registry or a depository of database. So they have everybody's data. Every institution that wants to access that data just acquires an API from NIA, and they have access to that data, okay? Because if you look at DVLA, you look at the banks, you look at the telcos, nobody should ask me or you to come back and repeat that process. It's not done, not in IT. Now, you don't take my word for it. Ask any IT expert, they'll tell you that is not done. If you have that data in your system, everybody should be able to access it, and that they pay a fee for the API. Now that everybody is having to go and take their Ghana card into these institutions, the question I'm asking is that NIA does not have the requisite infrastructure to do this work. So if you are now going to expand it into these areas like abroad, and then link it to immigration, link it to all these things we want to do, you can't expect people to physically be carrying the Ghana card to places for other registrations. That is not the idea of the national database. Everybody who live out, go ahead.
Let me just ask you this. So I keep sharing this story. A Ghanaian friend of mine, resident in Canada, permanent resident with his documents and all of that, but he still, carries his Ghanaian citizenship. So a dual citizen, basically. He recently came to Ghana and he was sharing an interesting story with me. There wasn't much he could do. He wanted to register as him. He couldn't because he didn't have the Ghana card. Meanwhile, this guy has his passport and everything else. And he was telling me, look, in Canada, I have 3+ cards, national identity cards, different kinds of them that I can use to prove my identity. And I don't need one, just a single card to prove that. Why is it that we're restricting ourselves to one? That brings us back to the question of, you have a passport. You can use your passport to get your Ghana card, but you can't use your passport to acquire certain other, documentation in this country.
That is the point I'm making, that the depository of data, the backbone, the software, the technology they have is obsolete or is wrong. Because what your ID does is your identification to show that the person standing in front of you to access whatever service they are trying to access is who they say they are. So a passport, Ghana card, or a driver's license, okay? Now, what that company you are accessing the service from has a direct access to the biometrics and all the information captured by National Identification Authority, NIA. So all he has to do is to take your date of birth or take your name, and then any of the searches that he can do, because your date of birth will be unique. If you have your Ghana card number will be unique. If you have your passport number will be unique. Okay? So he inputs that into the database. If he is linked to the National Identification Database, it should pull up your data.
Right.
And say that the person in front of you, your picture, your everything should come up.
All right.
Or even better, let me give you one better. If you go into the office, you don't even need to have your passport or your ID. If they have a thumbprint scanner or a fingerprint scanner, if they ask you to scan your biometrics, which is either your eyes or your thumbprint, that should immediately speak to the NIA database and pull your data and say that this person standing there is who he says he is. It is a two-way communication system.
Right, and that is what...
where we are saying that you have to physically carry the card, and unless it's not, it's wrong. In 2022, that is wrong.
Let's get into other stories. Forceful points you're making there, as we see in other jurisdictions. But on page 17, defend democratic values to prevent further decline. Professor Jimabwedi urges, and I'm talking about the co-founder and board chairman of the Afrobarometer, a Pan-African research project. And he has called on the citizenry and civil society organizations to defend and protect democratic values from further decline on the African continent, particularly our sub-region. He expressed regrets that, quote, "We are seeing multiple signs of retrogression and backsliding across the continent, even in countries hitherto deemed to be on the track of democratic consolidation, such as Benin, Ghana, Senegal, and South Africa." And he goes on to explain the causes of some of this retrogression. But on the back page, Cocobot closes down BH Fert Agro Company over smuggling. Your very quick thoughts on that, so we get into other papers, could you?
Well, in the first story that you read, the worry about us retrogressing is mostly to do with discipline. Look, Africa, vis-a-vis Ghana, was a very conservative nation with very deep values of culture, respect for elderly, and all the above. Gradually, we are looking at the Western world and basically copying everything we see on social media, so we are slipping into abyss of undiscipline. People no longer get up for the elderly to sit. People no longer respect the culture that we cherish so much. People think that, why are we doing this in this country? And the reason he's questioning why are we doing this in this country is because he's seeing somewhere in the Western world that not being done. It's unfortunate. We have lost the sense of ownership of something. If we own something and we respect it and we hold it so dear, it makes us unique. But we are quick to ditch what we have and quickly go. You know what I mean? The quick one you see is the way we tend to now speak like Nigerians. And sometimes somebody will say something and try to mimic things that Nigeria will say. But we have ways we speak in Ghana as well. And in the past, Nigerians will copy those things. But now the trend had reversed. The youth want to copy everything foreign and ditch Ghanaian. That is the problem. That is why the lack of respect for what we have is slipping down, and that goes with everything. And the base of that is discipline. We don't have the discipline.
Quickly, I'll be getting to the Ghanaian Times, but just a quick look at the graphic business. Major drivers of August inflation. You can check out the details there. Food and alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, for example, accounted for 34.4% of inflation. One interesting bit is that we're seeing local, inflation in terms of our own products competing keenly with imported inflation. But there's also boss to beat 2021 performance. Accra City Hotel appoints Divine Marty as new general manager. Congratulations to him. Bank of Ghana to stay policy rate despite rising inflation. And of course, we know what hiking it further would mean. An Access Bank graphic business SME clinic. SMEs asked to leverage digital tech tools. Let me quickly get to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. It also talks about the Queen's farewell and then world leaders paying their last respects as she journeys home. But interesting stories as well. Others. Police exhumed body of missing man at Bamahu. And a brief from the police said the body was later identified, or the Special Purpose Police Intelligence and Investigative Team working in the Wa municipality in the Upper West region on Sunday discovered a body in a shallow grave at Bamahu, a suburb of Wa. And the police said the body was later identified by family members as Seydou Baga, who was reported missing on Friday, September 16, 2022. There's been a spate of killings. Now, 7 people have died, all of them security people, so night watchmen, like we usually call them, elderly, and some of them have had body parts removed. This is the latest that we have seen. I want you to tie that into this one. Trial of Radio Adnan journalist commences October 27 and it's the trial of Noana Dame, a deputy station coordinator and journalist of Radio Adna. He's accused of publishing false news on social media, and you know about how that station was vandalized and all of that, an attack on them. But this petition put forward by Dr. Daniel Macaulay, popularly known as MacDan, who is the CEO of Electrochem Ghana Limited. So that issue is developing there. Any quick thoughts on that as we move on?
Yes, it's sad to have been monitoring that story in the news with the killing of the night security men in the Y municipality. I think that is very unfortunate. Look, this goes down to criminals who find vulnerable people at night who are doing their duty to earn daily bread for their family, to basically kill them for whatever stupid reason that they kill them for. For me, it's unfortunate. But look, that comes on top of what we've been talking about, Ben, every week in, week out. Security and lack of any punitive actions against people found to do these things. We have gradually become a nation of only 12 hours. If you go, even in Accra, from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., the country is dead, empty, nothing happens, okay? Now imagine what WA will look like from 10 p.m., even if Accra is that empty and dead. So it means that we've become a country that in the night, nobody is around, and that is when criminals find time to do all the wicked things that they think they can get away with. If we were to have a 24-hour commercial cycle, okay, and there are police services who are paid monthly and does not have to close at work at 6 o'clock, it's amazing how a police, we keep recruiting a lot of people into the police, right? Now, the most annoying thing I see during the day, you see 4 or 5 of them at a juncture with 2 motorbikes and you don't even know what they are doing standing there.
Oh, you're talking about the police visibility teams. You know,
is the visibility, what is visibility?
Yes, that's what's happening.
At night, everybody goes to bed. What is the point? What is the point? At night, you see 5, 6 policemen in one juncture with 2 motorbikes, standing there and talking, right? But then past 6 o'clock, you don't see a single policeman on the street. What? 6 o'clock to the following 6 o'clock is not part of the country? It's not part of the world? That is my amazing point. Why can't we have a 24-hour visibility? The same amount of police on the street during the day. Why can't we have that same amount of police at 11 o'clock at night and then at 1 a.m. at night? Why? Why do we pay the police monthly salary, but they go to bed at 7 o'clock? Why can't they run a 12-hour shift?
Right.
What is wrong with that? Okay, so instead of having all these people standing around during the day and go to bed at night, if we put these people on the street at night, some of these vulnerable men who are being killed will be saved.
Okay.
And ship them to the other regions. Why Accra? I don't see the same thing going on in Sunyani. I don't see the same thing going on in Wale Wale. Why are we having all these brand new dressed policemen in Accra standing around doing nothing? Please.
Well, in tandem with that, in line with that, the one suspect has been arrested and will be duly arraigned. The Daily Guide newspaper captures that story on page 6. It says the police have arrested one person believed to be the prime suspect behind the Wa murder cases. Suspect Kankani Adongo was arrested yesterday at Bamaho, a suburb of Wa, after extensive collaboration between the police and community search parties. The suspect is in police custody and will be arraigned before court to face justice. This came to light after the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo Dampare, yesterday visited the town to meet its chiefs and elders over the recent murders. So at least a good development there. I want us to wrap on these 2 quick stories in some 2 minutes or less. So World Bank pledges $600 million for Ghana. That story is on page 3. And the World Bank Country Director for Ghana, Pierre-Frank Laporte, says Ghana will receive $600 million as balance of payment support for its budget next year, if the country is able to meet all criteria set out for it by the institution. So there's an if. According to him, this amount will represent between 30% and 40% of the $1.5 billion package contained in Ghana's envelope with the bank for the next 3 years. The country has suffered, of course, in recent years from recurrent macroeconomic stability and all of that. But of course, there are medium to long-term, structures, things we must meet in order to qualify. You can get the details from the story. And the other one, cocoa, shift focus to domestic consumption. Prioritize value addition to stop export of raw beans. That's according to Professor Owusu. And maybe I might just add, you know how our cocoa farms are now bleeding on the back of Galamsey? Cocoa farmers have to mix their fertilizer and other products with sachet water because most of the water bodies around them are polluted, and these Galamseyers are buying them out. The quick bit to add there is that if you use the land for Galamsey, maximum 6 months, let's extend it and say a year, that's what its life will be. But cocoa farms can serve us 70 years, 80 years, up to a century, and they'll still be serving us. Your quick reflections, very quick one.
Ben, look, the Galamsey conversation is sad, okay, because clearly the battle has been lost. Okay,
the battle has been lost.
It's lost because look, after 6 years of His Excellency Nanado's taking his presidency on line for Galamsey, his words were, he will stake his presidency on the line for Galamsey. 6 years down the line, the battle is lost because it is not retrogressing, it's getting worse. The videos, the pictures, everything that we are seeing going around the country means the Galamsey fight has been lost. So look, everybody needs to come back home. Let's go around the table, okay, and rethink what we need to do as a nation. We are at war, okay? We, the good people, the village, the country livers, urban livers, the village people, everybody is at war with the few, the greed, who have seen that there is gold underneath the earth and they will go at every length to retrieve that gold. Be it our cocoa farm, be it our drinking water, be it your house. In my village in Nananko, my family house that has been sitting there for over 100 years, if we didn't get there on time, some Galamsey people were going to uproot that heritage of ours and do Galamsey. So we are at war. My point is, what are we going to do as a nation when we are at war? Do we treat it with kid's glove, or do we go the Kojopoku way? And for me, I think the better everybody looks at the Kojopoku way is the better. If not,
what is the Kojopoku way? Very briefly, what is the Kojopoku way? We have to go. What is the Kojopoku way?
Is where the Kojopoku way is where one, we change the law. As we speak, in the last 10 years we've been fighting Galamsey, nobody have changed the law. What is the punitive action for somebody arrested for doing Galamsey? We changed the law to now let everybody understand what it means to be arrested for doing Galamsey. For me, life imprisonment. Okay? 2, the military is coming in. If you have a gun, you shoot, they will shoot to kill. 3, there is a moratorium for everybody to vacate river bodies. When the military come and they catch you, there is a court set up straight where in the jurisdiction where you were, where the new law says that it's life imprisonment. It's very simple.
Thank you, Kojo, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. We're grateful for your time and we wish you the very best of the day.
Thank you very much.
Kojo Poku is an energy analyst and he shares his thoughts freely on matters of national concern. Well, that's how we sew it up for the news review. But up next, we have a lot coming your way when it comes to sports. Stay for that.
Good morning. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftao Nabila Abdullahi. This Friday, the Black Stars will be playing the Seleção of Brazil in an international friendly. The senior national team opened training session on Monday in France as they get ready for that all-important friendly match on Friday as they build up to the FIFA World Cup to be staged in Qatar later this year. 24 players, including the new players who recently switched nationality to join the Black Stars, were all part of the training session. However, 4 players are yet to be available for the training. They include Mohamed Salisu, Daniel Amathe, Felix Afinajan, and Richard Ofori. So this is the total number of players who are in camp right now, and they are preparing. It is Abdul Manaf Nuruddin, he's a goalkeeper, Joseph Wallacott, Tariq Lamptey of Brighton and Hove Albion, he recently switched nationality from England to Ghana. There's Stefan Ambrosius from Germany to Ghana. Dennis Odoi from Belgium to Ghana. Joseph Edu, he's with Celta Vigo in La Liga. Inaki Williams switched nationality to the country, but his younger brother has been called up to the Spanish national team, and just yesterday, the Spanish head coach Luis Enrique explained the decision to call up Nico Williams, saying that he likes the boy and not just because he wants to stop him from playing for the Black Stars. There's a place for Gideon Mensah, a left back, Bauer, a man of Reading, Alexander Jiku, Elisha Owusu, Alidu Seido of Clermont, Thomas Partey, Arsenal. He was out injured, but made a return to the senior, his side, Arsenal, as they played Brentford. He played 73 minutes in that game before he was substituted. Fatau Isako of Sporting Lisbon, Mohamed Kudus, who has been on some sensational form for Ajax Amsterdam, scoring 5 goals in 6 matches. There is a place for Suleiman Kamaldeen of Rennes, Daniel Kofi Istre of RB Freiburg. There's Jordan Ayew, Andrea Ayew, Baba Idris of Mallorca, Daniel Afriye Bania, the only home-based player who earned a call-up to the senior national team. There's Osman Bukari of Red Star Belgrade, Antoine Semenyo of Bristol City, and Ransford Yeboah. These are the players in camp. However, Mohamed Salisu, Daniel Amate, Felix Afinajan, and Richard Ofori, they are expected in camp to make up the full squad that will continue to prepare for the game. The Brazilians are also in France preparing for this game. The likes of Neymar, Firmino, Casemiro are all in camp. They have a full squad per media reports last night. So it's just the Black Stars who are left with 4 players to complete the total players invited by Otoado and his technical team for the upcoming friendly matches against Brazil and Nicaragua. The first game is this Friday against Brazil. The first time the last friendly match between Ghana and Brazil was in 2011, where Ghana lost 1-0, courtesy of a Wagner Love only goal that was scored in Austria. Now let's talk athletics. And the Ghana Athletics Association, they have organized a training session for the Ghana Armed Forces. General Secretary of the Ghana Athletics Association, Bawa Fusene, says that the certificate that they've put together for the Armed Forces is a world-recognized certificate, and that this is meant to ensure that the Ghana Armed Forces is able to have active participation in athletics.
Just in line with Ghana Athletics Association and the Ghana Armed Forces as a whole for our collaboration. Now, we started the collaboration about 2 years ago. We supported them to do first ever national championship at LWAC. This year too, we supported them to do national cross country again. So in order for them to have a whole program in athletics, apart from having the best athlete we have in this country, they also do organization. What they have not gotten until today is the ability to organize, the ability to officiate. That is what we have just equipped them today, that they should be able to officiate on their own. So from Wednesday to today, Friday, we organized an official course for them at the basic level, and all of them did so well. So I'm so excited, and on behalf of Ghana Athletics Association and the President, we would like to thank the Ghana Armed Forces, the commander, all the chiefs in the Ghana Armed Forces for giving them the opportunity to come and train some of their men to be able to officiate at the national level in athletics. For me, that is what we should do. For me, I would like other security services to also emulate what the armed forces are doing. Currently, they have more than 300 sportsmen and women in athletics. In every discipline, they are there. We used to know them to be long-distance athletes, but currently they have the best female runners. They have the best male runners currently. So what we can only do to encourage them is to give them this course. That is why we did this course for them. This is World Athletics Certificates. It's recognized the whole world. Wherever they go with the certificates, it will recognize. Because the program is programmed from the World Athletics. The lecturers are certified lecturers from World Athletics. and the costs are the same wherever you go in the world. So this is an international certificate. Wherever they go, it is recognized. Whenever we do program in Ghana here, they will welcome to also come officiate. Bawa Alassane and Mr. Albert Kofi Boni are the two certified well athletics lecturers in athletics officiating in this country. So while they have organized it internationally, we will submit the report and the names to the World Athletics to be kept in their database. So this is an international certificate. Wherever they go, in US, in Germany, in Asia, in Africa, it is a recognizable certificate.
Back to football, and Accra Hearts of Oak head coach Samuel Boydu, he's an unhappy man because his team has not won a single match in the last 7 Premier League outings, and he's a worried person. He believes that the boys must work extra harder so that they can turn the fortunes of the team into winning ways. There's more in this report by my colleague, Haruna Mubarak.
After match day 2 in the Ghana Premier League, the Phobians have a point to show for after losing 1-0 to Aduana Stars at the Nana Ajimambedu Park and drawing 1-1 in the Garmancha Derby last Sunday. However, Samuel Boydu is not satisfied with the stalemate and believes his team will improve.
For we as a folk, we are not happy about the performance now and the points that we have. So we need to work extra hard so that we can get more points for the club. Yeah, that's the nature of game. Sometimes this thing used to happen, but all that we have to give them confidence. So when such things happen again, they can correct it or they can put it away. Because we were down. And look at the enthusiasm and how the boys played. Yeah, though we shared the points, we were playing home, we shared the points, but I love their fighting spirit. If they keep on like that, I think it will help the team.
Hearts of Oak have now extended their winless run in the top flight to 7 matches from last season. Midfielder Glasson Awako says it's a difficult period the team must overturn.
We are disappointed because we were better. We look good throughout the 90 minutes. And as I said, mistakes do happen. And we will pick up the wrongs and we go again. It's a tough games, and we will pass through. It's not easy. We just started, and I know the staff too are doing all they can to make sure we get to know each other. There are new ones which the staff are doing their best to get a good team in the future.
Up next for Hearts of Oak is the Super Clash against Asante Kotoko at the Baba Yara Stadium.
This is our wrap-up AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abla. The show continues right after this.
And that we would do anything possible to support the requisite agencies, police, immigration, dealing with foreigners and the rest of them. But I did make it clear that in all these matters, the policy is for the rule of law to be enforced. That if you have information, you give the information to the security agencies to use. You do not resort to self-help or to usurp the role of security agencies. So that we have asked the chief to thank the community for their passion to help, for the information that they've been given and continue to give, but they should leave the real work to the police, only giving the information. Don't attack anybody, because if you attack anybody, you yourself will be a subject of investigation. So broadly, these are the matters. Express our condolences to the President, assured that the competent agencies are, as you can already observe, and ask that the community should cooperate with the agencies without usurping their role. Let no one take the law into his own hands. We would not allow that. And we would give you the pledge that we continue to support the police to do their work by supporting them. And yes, I believe that the police would address that issue of numbers here. Everywhere I go, people want police, but I believe that they will do the needful and be able to equip the police here in terms of personnel and the rest of them. All I ask for is your cooperation. Thank you.
As for resources, we have seen resources around last question. We have seen the resources coming in. But in terms of looking for the perpetrators of this heinous crime, are we going to rest on our oars?
No, we are not going to rest on our oars. The people you see in uniform are only part of the police. We have a part of the police that is trained in investigation, trained in crime scene, and the CID and all that. Believe me, this police leadership knows what it's about. God bless us. Thank you.
The traditional rulers call the Inspector General of the Ghana Police Service, Dr. George Akufo Dampare, on arrival in the War Municipality, first paid a courtesy call on the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali. After his meeting with the Upper West Regional Minister, the IGP went down to town and interacted with some people in the War Municipality on the roadside.
How dark is your place?
Very dark, very, very dark. No street lights, no nothing, no street lights. And I will road to fact.
No street light, no nothing. There's no building for you to live in.
But if I say nothing, at least you understand.
I understand. Yes. Because you are my teacher, so I understand.
Very well.
The overlord of the Walla traditional area, Navuseni City people the in his meeting with the IGP did not mince words on the poor state of the region's security. The winner's speech was articulated in a statement by his spokesperson, Nakadir Ibrahim.
When you realized the killings were getting one too many, you sent a team of investigators to support the criminal investigation department within the police service in the region. When again the police service in the region got overwhelmed by the increasing spate of killings, you sent more men to beef up the number of your men on the ground. Admittedly, however, upon hindsight, one can describe the actions not only as knee-jerk reactions, but also as too little, too late.
The Walla overlord opined that the recent spate of murders has exposed the weakness and vulnerability of the country's security services.
The Upper West region, so close to the borders of the country, should have been adequately catered for in terms of security, particularly in these turbulent times. These killings have exposed our insecurity, our nakedness, and our vulnerability. Mr. IGP, this is a wake-up call. The Upper West region needs more permanent men on the ground immediately. This should be accompanied by adequate logistical support. We also expect a shake-up within the rank and file of men and women in the service who have overstayed their welcome in the Upper West region.
It was revealed that one suspect was arrested by a search party and handed over to the police. The winner in this case is called on the police to do a thorough job in order to get to the bottom of the matter.
We got the news this afternoon about the arrest of one suspect. Highly suspected by the people to be behind, if not all, but some of these atrocities that have been committed against us unduly.
The Inspector General of the Ghana Police Service, Dr. George Akufo Dampare, in an interaction with residents outside the palace, stated that despite the perception that the police were slow, they were up to the task.
So already every security agency is involved in this exercise we are doing. But as a lead agency, we take full command and responsibility and make sure that we deepen it to the level that will keep you so safe. That's why you could see all the motorbikes, all the personnel and the undercover special intelligence teams, the undercover special investigation teams working day and night with most of you in the communities. Now some of you have seen some of them dressed as if they work in the market, as if they work at the shops, all towards getting to the bottom of this matter.
Dr. George Dampare said they are working on the quiet and with little noise, and hence the success.
If we are not committed, we will come have speeches and 3 seconds we are somewhere else. But because we are committed, we talk less.
Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. And of course, we started the big stories. We follow up on those killings in Wa. Now, we know the police has arrested a man purported to be the key suspect in this case. He was arrested at Bamahu after extensive collaborations between the police and community search parties. And we'll get into the details of that with our correspondent in the Upper West region, Rafiq Salam. We're also joined by Mumuni Mukhtar, security analyst. Idrisu Sufyan is a leader of the Civil Search Party in Wa. They were able to bring out Kankani Adongo from his hideout. But I'll start with Rafiq Salam, who joins the conversation. So, Rafiq, we know that the Interior Minister has been there. He's been speaking to the issues. Dr. Akufo Dampare, the IGP, has been there. He's spoken to the issues. We've heard from the WANA, who has also said that while the police has done a lot, they could have averted this owing to the situation of Wa. What is the latest as of this morning that you can report from the area? What is the state of the community like on the back of the apprehension of Mr. Adongo?
Wa is cool now after yesterday's incident. Wherever you go in town, that is really the discussion on the lips of many. And so yesterday, many residents in town were really happy about the arrest of the suspect, and they think that there is a breakthrough, and they are hoping that the police will do more. The police need to collaborate with the search parties so that they will be able to unravel the mystery and also apprehend the perpetrators of this heinous crime.
What has been the, reaction? This person who was accosted, I know the search party aided the Ghana Police Service, but walk us through how this exercise was conducted and how they ended up apprehending Kankani Adongo.
Ever since that this incident occurred, I think the last 2 weeks, I've seen the formation of search parties from communities where these victims are hailed from. So one of these search parties is from Chere, and I think that they are the busiest among all the search parties that we have in the municipality. And so day in, day out, they have been coming around the municipality, going into the bush, going into uncompleted structures, at least to know where these victims could be buried or be hidden. And so yesterday, I was at the regional police headquarters when they came around, numbering over 60 with cordials, with cutlasses, and whatever, trying to inform the police that they were going on the prowl again. And so yesterday, the information that we had was that when they got to where they found that shallow grave, they moved a little bit higher, got into another uncompleted structure. That was where they saw some plastic chairs, and then also they were also able to get a pump that looks like the pump of one of the victims who was alleged to have been murdered. They also saw a knife that they think that was also the preserve of these security men. And so they think that at least they have gotten somewhere in their investigation or in their attempt to unravel the mystery. And so later they headed to Ubit, formerly known as UDS at Bamahu, and that was where they got to one of their uncompleted structures, and that's where they got this Kankani Adongo. The information that we had when they met him first, he told them that he couldn't speak any language apart from Ebe. And so they brought an Ebe man, and then when he started to speak to him, he said he didn't understand. Then later he said he was an Asante. Then they started speaking to him. Then he didn't respond. And then later, he said he was somebody who could only speak Frafra. And so they brought a Frafra man from the university. And when he came and he spoke Frafra, he didn't want to even listen to them. But it was there that at least they used a little bit of minimum force on him. And that was where he started to speak. But they found on him.
So eventually, what language did he speak? What language did he respond in?
He responded in Frafra.
In Frafra, right. So very interesting development there. So for now, the police is, to some level, they have some level of certainty that this person, owing to what has been retrieved from where he was, basically points to the fact that he must have had a hand in at least some of these killings. That is what information we're getting. We're also being told that he's going to be processed for arraignment. Is that correct? Do you know any details about what we can expect as far as that is concerned?
That's what we saw on the police statement. You know, these days the police doesn't talk. They only come out with statements, and they are saying that he's going to be arraigned before court probably today. But at least that's really, there's really still an excitement on the part of the state parties, and they are saying that now that they have gotten one person, they think that many more are still lurking around, and they will do their best to ensure that they are arrested.
We know the WANA also, spoke through his spokesperson, and while he commended the police for increasing the investigative team in WA and all of that on the back of these killings, he also said that, it was too little, too late, and that as a border, locality, they should have been doing more in the first place to securitize the area. Tell me about the dissatisfaction from the WANA's palace and maybe from community members on the back of these developments, though one person has been accosted.
You know, the WANA didn't speak in vacuum. They were speaking to the issues about what is really happening in the municipality. Let me take you and then give you a little bit of statistics in terms of the police. You know, in January 2017, the number of policemen in the Upper West region was around 1,700. By the end of 2018, the number of policemen in the Upper West region reduced to 520. And several of them, 1,000 of them were transferred out of the region. And so when President Akufo came to work in 2018, there was an appeal made to him by the overlord of the Water Tourism area about the low number of security personnel, especially the police in the Upper West region. And so the president responded through the IGP and also through the Interior Minister, through the IGP, and they were able to bring over 2,000 policemen a couple of years later. And as I talk to you now, the number of police personnel in the Upper West region, as we speak now, with the exception of the 300 that they have brought, is not up to 1,000. And so our checks reveal that over 1,000 policemen have been transferred out of the region the last 2 years. The one municipality, for example, out of 15 policemen that were transferred out of the region, there was only one replacement. And so the one that was speaking to these issues based on the low number of police personnel that we have in the region. And I think that bringing 300 policemen was a knee-jerk reaction. But the IGP didn't respond to the overlord at the palace. When he came out of the palace, he interacted with some civilians and also some business men, and he told them that they were not resting on their horse. They have done their best. The police is also part of the security architecture. At least they are the first line of action. And so he thinks that they are doing their best, and they will do everything possible to ensure that the perpetrators of this heinous crime are arrested.
Rafiq, stay with me. Stay with me. We also know that the WANA has actually, lamented the fact that large swathes of territory in WA are poorly lit, especially at night. So all of that creates a security concern. But stay with me, Rafiq Salam. Let me bring in Idrisu Sufyan, leader of the Civilian Search Party in WA. Idris, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you for staying with us. I'd like to find out, this is the 7th such killing that now we have confirmed and for which one person has been apprehended. When did these civilian search parties start? After which one of the killings?
It was, we started this whole thing after the 7th person was apprehended. We saw that as a community, we couldn't sit back and watch things happen the way they are happening. We came together as a youth group to help the police in search of what already they were trying to unveil. But we as civilians, we think that there are some issues that we can take up. But in fact, we need the assistance of the police and all stakeholders to do a thorough search to also put an end to what is, in fact, has involved the Wat Township.
So tell me, what role exactly have you played? Yes, the civilian search party. How exactly did you collaborate with the police? And how were you unable to, so to speak, sniff out or smoke out Kankani Adongo?
We had information yesterday, very early in the morning, around the hours of 7 a.m., that there was an uncompleted building around where we founded one of the security guys who was buried with parts of bodies missing, that there were some people staying there. So we got to that area. Actually, it was very bushy. And earlier on, we pleaded with the police to, in fact, entrust in us some trust so that we could also be carrying some weapons that will make them aware of. But in fact, they didn't agree to that request by the youth. So we're there with just some sticks. So we couldn't get into the building. Well, we didn't know what they were carrying inside there. So I placed a call to the police command. They released some men to come to the scene. But unfortunately for us, before they got there, there was this siren blowing, and before we realized, the people disappeared. Well, the place was actually busy. So we had information that there was somebody also staying in an uncompleted building. The moves he's taking there was very unusual. So they called us, we got there, and we find out that he was still inside there. So we said that no, this one they wouldn't allow for sirens to be blown for him to also disappear again. So we were there, we have to capture him, then hand over him over to the police. Then we moved to One House Palace with him. Then subsequently, he was released to the police for further investigations.
So you're telling me that initially you had come to this structure where there were some people in there that you suspected had a hand to do with the killings, but because the police came with sirens and all of that, they left.
Yeah, these are two separate structures.
Yes.
The one that they disappeared was just closer to where we discovered the 8th person. But this particular structure that we find, Mr. Adongo, was some kilometers away from where we discovered those in the morning.
So it means that in that first incident, the supposed criminals, so to speak, slipped through your fingers. You could not get them, and now they're on the loose.
Because when we entered the room in the morning, what we saw there, in fact, everything pointed to the fact that they were there in that particular morning, because we saw people soaked some clothes in water. Actually, we couldn't ascertain whether that was ordinary water, but that's what we saw there, and everything inside the room pointed to the fact that they were there in that previous night, and they were still there even in the morning before we got there.
How much of a concern for you is it that these people were not apprehended? I mean, we cannot confirm that they had a hand to do with, a hand in these killings, but how much of a concern is it for you and community members that these people were not at least apprehended for investigations to take place?
It was terrible for us in the morning because it nearly demoralized a lot of people who were there to help in the search. What is so interesting to know is that when we got there, materials that are supposed to be belonging to some of the people who are missing and we are searching now were found in the room. The relatives of those who are missing were able to confirm to Ghana police that, in fact, those materials belong to their relatives. And they showed with ample evidence, and we're all convinced that actually this is a room that, in fact, we don't even need anybody to tell us that house where they are camped and they are doing this dastardly act.
And so, in other words, the perpetrators, as far as your group is concerned, those were the people involved, but unfortunately, now they have gone into hiding.
Yes, please.
All right.
Well, with the materials we found in the rooms, it was we were 100% convinced that actually, because if you pick my relative that we are still looking for, we get inside your room, we see machetes that belong to him, catapults that belong to him, and a knife the person was using, a plastic chair that the person sat on that night. We saw everything in the room. At least we can be sure that at least something relating to those crimes was at that particular point.
Well, we'll leave the police to continue with their investigations. Hopefully, these people can be smoked out. But I'd like to have an interaction on the back of interference, as the police has suggested at some point. I know initially you were suggesting, your group, that maybe foreigners are behind this activity. We have Kankani Adongo, who, I mean, from what has been shown, could be a national of Ghana. He speaks Frafra. Has that stance of yours changed? Are you still thinking some foreigners are involved, or do you now believe that it is a wholly Ghanaian enterprise?
Yeah, I think this is one of misconceptions we had since Friday. Sometimes when a group of youth are taking an action like this, you can be sure that you can't have 100% compliance. We as a group have never, and no at any point have we suggested that those acts were perpetrated by foreigners. If your reporters will get you appropriate this, and that particular day that people started jumping into the shots of foreigners, we were the same leadership that prevented that. We told them that no, that was not our intent. Our intent is just to go in and search for whosoever. It could be people who we are staying with. So the issue of attacking foreigners has never been supported by our group, and we think that it was something that we condemn, and we are still condemning it. As it stands now, we are thinking that a criminal can be in any form, and what we as a group, what we are seeing is that it's a syndicate, and we are just also thinking that it will be very unfair if people are thinking that we are interfering with the police work. What we set to do now is that we are just trying as much as possible to help them do what is needful. Our actions so far has proven ample evidence that we are just out there to help the system. So it will be very unfair if people are thinking that we are interfering in the search or the work of Ghana police.
So right now, as far as you are concerned, you are collaborating with them. What then is the next step in this collaboration? I mean, you've been asked not to use weapons. I want to believe you're going to comply with that. But moving forward, what is the next step in terms of collaborating with the police to fish out these criminals?
Currently, as we are speaking to you, we are picking some signals this morning. You know, sometimes it's very difficult sending some information to the police, especially so when you think that you are not very safe. I'm telling you this morning that there are some information that we are privy to, and we are, in fact, finding a way of even informing the police to let them know that actually this is some of the information on the ground that they are not even privy to. But sometimes some of the civilians find it very difficult reaching to the police to give them some vital information in fear of being victimized at the end of the day. We those championing this thing, we also even appreciate the fact that there's a lot of risk in it, but we are thinking that we have a community to save and a country to save at large. So as we speak, we are doing everything humanly possible, and in fact, by way of law, to help in this search. As we are speaking to you this morning, currently we are inside the bush again, doing information. In fact, yesterday we had some information that we need to also do our civilian checks. Then when things are getting better or things are getting clearer to us, we'll get the police informed to continue with whatsoever that they have to do.
What you're saying suggests to me that you have some mistrust of the Ghana Police Service in terms of giving them or feeding them with information, and that you are also afraid that maybe, just maybe, some information could get out of hand and that some people providing the information could be victimized. Is that correct?
Yeah, because we have previous instances, and you know, it's always safe. The civilians think that it's very safe reaching us with some information, then we will find a way of informing Ghana police than just some of them, you know, the fear some civilians have in the Ghana, like sometimes they don't even know how to approach them and all those things. So some of the information some people who open up to give us, they will fear. And they are always in fear getting to the police and informing them those same information they are giving us. So we intend, and you see, what really is happening is that the youth searching party we are having or we constituted, we have people who are there. In fact, we are in the youth bracket anyway, but we have people, we have an NIA bosses in our maze, we have NADMO bosses in our maze, constituting part of the youth searching group. So at least you can be sure that we are, though we are not professional security people, but what we are also doing is helping the system.
All right. Thank you very much, Idris. Just hold for me, Idris. Let me bring in Mukhtar Mumuni. Mukhtar, who also joins the conversation. Idris, stay with me. Rafiq, stay with me as well. Let me bring in Mukhtar. So we've spoken about the situation, these developments in Wa, and the last time you heard Adib Sani, pass some comments on this. Here you are again today. How do you feel about all of these developments? Are we doing enough? The WANA accuses the police of not doing enough in terms of protecting the community because it is a border community. Do you share in that lamentation?
Well, what has happened so far clearly paints a picture of a security problem that we haven't really been able to get a handle on it. It's a situation that should worry all of us because we haven't shown clearly the fact that we are in control of the situation. And in the last couple of days, it has helped heighten the issue. It has helped to amplify the reality of the threat in the area. But what I'm pleased about is the fact that the community seems to have been significantly, taking the lead in helping unravel the situation. And we seem to be making some sort of progress in that respect. Of course, if you have a situation like this, resulting in the death of 9 people, in a particular area, that should worry you. And if you look at the way the police operate, if you look at the inadequacy in terms of numbers, in terms of immediacy of action when things happen, all of this would worry you. And so I'm not surprised that the WANA is very concerned about the progress being made or effort being made by the police service. I'm, very happy that citizens are leading and taking charge in terms of helping to uncover circumstances leading to this and the perpetrators behind this. And I must thank the youth group that has been leading the search party in this respect. What we need to do going forward is how do we cultivate the support of the local population? How do we ensure that local community members, have confidence and trust in the police service and be willing to come forward to volunteer information, relevant information that can lead to the arrest of suspects involved in this particular matter. As we speak, we don't have that yet, and we are already seeing or hearing concern of people who feel or fear that they could be victimized for volunteering information to security services. I saw the IGP, presence in WA, and of course, it gives significant sense of confidence and hope that something really very practical would be done about it. And I mean, of course, as usual of him, it brings a lot of attention. It highlights the issues when he gets involved. But an individual is not enough. We need local commanders. We need local police commanders, station commanders, and officers within the local community to be able to strike that same sense of, goodwill and that same sense of connectedness with the local community, to be trustful, a trustful relationship that exists between them, and allow people to willingly come forward to volunteer information. That is key to unraveling, these circumstances that have led to this and for future security situations.
Now, you speak about volunteering information. What more do you think the police can do? Because it is clear that, like Idris Sufyan has been saying, some people would feel comfortable to go to the civilian search party, but not to the police. But that in itself is problematic, isn't it? So what should the police do to make themselves more approachable when it comes to these pieces of information?
All police, especially who deal with community matters or civilian matters, know that the primary objective in operating in an area is to establish a trustful relationship with the local community. And so when they take you to an area, one of their primary objectives is to do community entry activities, to strike a positive relationship with the local community. That paves the way for working together in a very, very trustful manner and in a very effective manner. As we speak now, we are seeing local community pervasively involved in this process. It has its own pluses and has its negatives. The pluses is that it would lead to uncovering information that may not readily would have been available to the police. The negative aspect is that the local community members may not necessarily have the skill and competence when you're dealing with, information or, the intelligence that could be useful in either further investigations or information or evidence that could be used for prosecutorial purposes. We need to be able to have a relationship between the police and the local community that clearly shows clearly what lines or to what extent the local community should be involved in order not to undermine evidence that could be useful or that could be useful for prosecuting any potential suspect in this case. We need to be able to have evidential information that is useful in terms of court processes. We need to be able to preserve evidence or information that could be relevant or useful for further investigations relating to this matter. If we don't have that clearly established, the community's involvement could be undermining information and evidence in these processes. And then at the end of the day, we may be losing much more than we should in terms of dealing with this matter.
Mukhtar, hold for me. Let me wrap from the end of Idrisu, and I'll come right back to you. Idrisu, so just so you can give your final thoughts and move on. We know that the police service deployed over 300 officers to that particular location with a lot of investigators as well to aid in the process that we're seeing now. Looking at developments so far, are you satisfied with what you have seen? And if not, what more do you want to see? Hello, Idrisu. Okay, so we don't have Idrisu with us. We'll try to reconnect with him so maybe he can give that final answer. But Mukhtar, coming back to you, so the situation that Idrisu describes where they had actually got a tip-off, some information. They are going to this shelter, this building, and then they invite the police because they are not armed and they don't know what sort of ammunition the people in there could have. But the police come with sirens and all of that. The people, realizing there is some danger, flee the scene. Was this professional? Was this a flawed approach? Because when they entered the building, guess what? They found articles belonging to some of the deceased, which raises quite a lot of concern. Did the police get it wrong?
I think this issue of sirens has been a long, debate in terms of its usage in dealing with crime. And there's been occasions where it has been very useful. Some other occasions it has been inimical to the processes, in terms of dealing with crime. Sometimes siren is helpful in helping stop further the commission of a particular crime, like issues of rape, issues of murder, issues of things like that. But in this particular case, on this occasion, I think that it hasn't been helpful. It has been helpful in the sense that, given what we are hearing from the search party of the youth group, this has actually facilitated the escape of the the suspects that we are looking at. And I didn't think that it should have been used. Sirens are usually used when the crime involved is in the character or nature of, say, rape or burglary in the house or any kind of crime that the siren can help stop before it gets worse. On this occasion, you are looking to smoke out individuals who are suspected to be involved in serial crime or serial murders. The siren actually pre-informs or forewarns them, and they can escape. And that's actually what happened based on the narration of the youth groups. So I think that it should be based on proper analytical, outcomes in terms of their actions in dealing with this particular case. I think we should move forward. We should strengthen the relationship or working relationship between the police and the local population. The police work professionally, and they are supposed to be guided by processes and standard operating procedures. So some of them sometimes, may not be helpful if you want to stick to it. You need to be able to look at, out-of-the-box situations in terms of ideas in dealing with situations. For instance, we see the role of the youth here very significant in what has happened so far. If you notice, when this bad thing, began to happen, we've been hearing a lot of the voice of the youth and community members, and much less of the, effort coming from the police. And where we have reached now is significantly a product of citizen action within the local community and within the media space. And so we need to recognize that role and build a very strong, effective relationship between the two. Today, as we speak, I'm having information that the person who has been arrested and now characterized as a key suspect may not necessarily be the key suspect in this particular crime. He is at the center of issues now because he has been arrested. And I understand that he may be suffering from mental condition. And so, and if that is true, we may not be able to adduce the kind of information or evidence or intelligence information that could be useful for us. And so there's a need to go beyond that, to expand the parameters of this, search and investigation to include even areas outside of traditional wild municipalities, to ensure that we rein in individuals who are directly or could be directly linked to this particular mark. And this can only be, successful if we have a strong role of the local community. And I continue to emphasize the role of the local community because no successful security operation actually can materialize without the role of the local community. And that is very key in this matter, and it's even much more in our situation here. And we should not downplay the role of the local community in dealing with it.
I'll come back to you, Mukhtar, but just hold for me. So we have a statement by the Ghana Bar Association, that is the Upper West chapter, on the recent disappearance and killing of watchmen in Awa. And it reads, the attention of the Upper West chapter of the Ghana Bar Association has been drawn to reports of suspicious disappearances and killings of watchmen in Awa. It is very disturbing that this is happening at a time when the region has become very attractive to investors and public sector employees. Going forward, we suggest the following. 1. Landlords and or property owners who engage the services of these watchmen should provide decent and serene places for them while they are at work. 2. It is also advisable for offices to install CCTV cameras and also ensure at least 2 watchmen are at post each night. 3. The police should encourage the formation of community watchdog groups to assist in the surveillance of the town in the night, as this would help curb crime and these dastardly acts of killing watchmen. The GBA Upper West region is ever ready to collaborate with the security agencies in curbing crime in WA and the region as a whole. It is signed by Siddiq Ubaidu, Upper West GBA president. Well, we are joined now by Siddiq, who is president of the Upper West Ghana Bar Association. Siddiq, a very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. You're welcome.
How much of a concern is it? Obviously, if the GBA is coming out with this statement, it means it is a concern to you. How much of a concern is it for you? And on the back of all that we've seen, I'm sure you've been listening to the conversation. Is it reassuring enough for you?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think you agree with me that if about 9 to 10 lives are lost within a space of 7 months, it is not something that we can sit down and then be comfortable with. Indeed, if you know very well, until this incident, it was a very peaceful community. So when they started abducting watchmen within the one municipality, killing them, putting them in shallow graves, it became a matter of concern to everybody within the region, including members of the GBA. We deem it very appropriate to also add our voice to the many voices that call upon the security agencies to stem the tide and arrest the situation. Not only that, it is also appropriate at this center for us to also appeal to the youth within the community to extra restraint, even though we can understand where they are also going about voting. Indeed, you realize that when this incident happened, a lot of people came to the fore, putting a lot of suggestions here and there. The GBA, as members, in fact, we owe a duty to the community, our courts, our client, and our profession. As part of our duty to the public, we think that it is appropriate for us to also come out with a statement and then also make some suggestions. Realize that any community that something is happening, it will not be conducive for investment. And why? As we all know, began to flourish in terms of business, and it became attractive both local and foreign investors. So it is very appropriate at this time for us to also add our voice to the moving calls to arrest the situation. But it is heartwarming and refreshing that one suspect has been arrested, even though information trickling in shows that he's not mentally stable. But that is something that the security agencies will have to bring their expertise to bear, whether or not indeed is the real suspect that we are looking for to arrest this situation.
Now, you call for the formation of community watchdog groups. You talk about using entities, companies, using CCTV cameras. You talk about 2 security officers or night watchmen being available so that at least there is some backup. You're calling on landlords and property owners to provide decent shelters for these security officers. This is not something that will just happen overnight. In the meantime, these killers still are on the loose. So in the interim, in the short term, what can be done to facilitate these things that you're asking for?
One, if you look at portions of the statement, we indicated, among other things, that policing or security is a collective responsibility. So we implore citizens and residents within one municipality, for that matter, to report any suspicious individual or group of individuals. Said that if matters of this nature are reported on time, it can easily be arrested. But if you look at the category of people that become a victim of the callous acts of these criminals, most of them, they ply their trade just in the open. The verandas, that's where they normally sleep. So they become easy prey for their perpetrators. That is why we appeal to property owners to take a second look at the places that they engage the services of these watchmen, because if there's in an enclosed place and there are 2 people, at least, depending on the number of people that will also come to attack them, it will be difficult. One can easily raise an alarm. But if it's one person lying in the open, it becomes very easy. And CCTV cameras, because these criminals, if they are aware of the evolution or the presence of these cameras in this area, they may not even go there in the first place. So that one acts as a preventive measure. Indeed, employers of these watchmen may not have adverted to their mind to the effect that some of these things can be prevented if they install CCTV cameras and they also take steps to, augment the number of security men within the facilities that they are supposed to keep that on. So that is why we came out. And then the community work done. You realize that this arrest that has been effected was as a result of a collaboration between the security agencies and some of the community sections. Because they are members of the community, at least they may have some information which is very material when arresting the problem. That is why we also appeal to the security agencies and all stakeholders to ensure that we have this community watchdog, so that they can collaborate with the police and to arrest the situation.
So, look, you're calling for these companies, for example, to have CCTV cameras and the rest. I just want to find out. I know there are a few law firms in the Upper West, not so many. With some of those firms within your jurisdiction, have you started from home in terms of encouraging them, if they don't have CCTV cameras, to do so? Has that been done?
You mean members of our association?
Yes. So those who may be operating from certain offices, firms, have you been able to get them to do that? Now that you're generalizing it, have you started from your own home?
Well, I am not conversant with those law firms, even though I'm there. But I will not be surprised if they have them already, because they become a necessity. If you look at the crime within the country as a whole, if they are not there, I want to believe that what current happening, they will take steps to it. But I will not be surprised if they are there already.
All right. So you've put the statement out. What will be any further, or the next contribution? What is going to be your contribution as the GBA? You've put this out there. How are you going to assist, for example, the police, the community? Are there any plans to assist, to bring your expertise to bear, for example?
Yes, if you look at the concluding part of the statement, we indicated, among other things, that we are ever ready to collaborate or assist the security agencies to unravel this mystery. As members of the association, we are in the community. We will continue to educate our people to take security as a priority. And if any of them have any information at all, sometimes because of the security architecture within the community or even in the country, sometimes local residents, when they have information, they may not even know how to relate it to the security agency. But because we are their brothers and sisters, I'm sure it will be easy for any of them to raise any information which can be used to arrest this problem. And when that is done, because of the things that we occupy within our community, we can liaise up with the security agency so that this matter can be resolved once and for all.
Sadiq, we're grateful for your time. Sadiq Ubaido is Upper West GBA president, and we wish you the best as you seek to help nip this situation in the bud. Let me bring in Mukhtar to wrap up the conversation. I do not know whether we'll be able to get Sufyan back to answer that final question, but we'll see how that works. So, Mukhtar, looking at what you were, hinting at earlier when it comes to the fact that based on the analysis of the situation, because if a report of rape or something that is in motion is happening, then sirens can help, like a bank robbery. Then sirens could deter further, crime. But in this instance, it was some sort of a tip-off, and the people were closing in on these people. But the sirens rather served to alert them of the presence of the police, and they fled. Would you say then that the police erred based on the intelligence they had? Did they err in this situation?
Obviously, this was an error on the part of the police to have used the siren. And I don't know what briefing the driver or that particular team had before they got dispatched onto the scene. The siren, as much as it is, a vehicular instrument, it's a tool for police. And so in this particular case, that particular tool has not been used correctly. It has been, it has helped in actually leading to the escape of potential suspects in this particular matter. I think that what is important for us now going forward is to strengthen that relationship between the police and the local community, to communicate clearly and to have the lines of engagement clearly outlined, and to ensure that things like this are handled in a very professional manner. What we have seen so far today appears to be some sense of hope in terms of the arrest that has been made, but I can tell you that this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's just a small aspect of what we need to do in terms of what we need to uncover. We haven't actually looked at the issue yet in terms of who the potential suspects are. And so we're yet to uncover the reality of the situation. And what we have seen probably may not have been connected at all in terms of the commission of this particular crime.
And it's interesting you make that point. That'll be the final point with which I wrap the conversation with you. It actually could be, if you listen to what Siddiq just said, the president of the GBA in the Upper West region. He also has information suggesting that this person could be mentally incapacitated and that he may have, if not no role at all, just suggesting he may have a very peripheral role to play in all of this. And maybe the real people who perpetrated these dastardly acts are the ones who are on the loose now. But what then, summarily, would be your final comments, Mukhtar?
My final comments is that we need to all be vigilant. We need to all be willing to participate in volunteering information and also doing so responsibly. We have to report information that we believe. It's information that we have. We should be careful about what we say in terms of the capacity to exaggerate or misleading information. And that should all be part of our responsibility to ensure that we uncover what is happening and why and around why.
Thank you so much, Mukhtar Mumuni Mukhtar. He is with West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. We also had Siddiq Ubaidu, Upper West GBA president, and Sufyan, who is with that community group seeking to actually unearth or bring to light those who are perpetrating these crimes. Well, we'll be taking a break shortly, but before that, hello Ghana. Happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma soft drinks, and Awake drinking water from Casa Preco Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy Drink, Puma soft drinks, and Awake drinking water. Text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780#, choose option 2, and follow the prompts on all networks for free. Now, you could be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. And you could also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and more instantly. So don't waste any time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma soft drinks, and Awake drinking water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Do remember, terms and conditions do apply. We take a breather and return with a lot more on the RTI, the Right to Information Law, and more. Stay. This is Joy News. It's a joy to have you back on the AM show. Thank you for staying. Let's speak now to the Right to Information Commission and its activities so far. Now, the Commission has been receiving review applications from persons whose applications for information have been denied by certain public institutions. Now, are certain citizens patronizing their services? How many are? And how's the Commission helping to put out relevant information to the public? Well, joining us on that conversation, we have our guest, Elizabeth Asari, or Liz Hafen Asari, as you would usually hear me introduce her when she joins the show. She is a deputy chairperson of the RTI Commission. Thank you so much, Liz, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. Second time in the studio. By and by, we're getting there. More studio time.
Well, as and when I can.
Yes, as and when you can. Yes. Anyway, so it all boils down to Article 21(1)(f) of the 1992 Constitution. But I'll leave you to tell us. I'm sure some people still, even today, if you ask them what the Right to Information law is all about, would not be able to give you a very concrete understanding. So my very basic question, what is the Right to Information law all about? What is it?
Okay, it is a fundamental right for us to be able to access information from all public institutions, and I'm talking about ministries, departments, and agencies. But again, we have some of the private institutions that are offering public service or that are using public resources. And so we should be able to access information from them. It's mainly to make sure that there's transparency, to make sure that we have an informed population, to make sure that whatever is being done has a stake of the public as citizens being a part of it. And that is basically what the whole law
what it's all about. So you mentioned public institutions, and everybody would be thinking, yes, so ministries, for example, departments, agencies, and all of that. But you also mentioned some private establishments using public resources. Can we have some understanding of that?
Providing public service.
Or providing public service.
Yes. So once your clientele is the public, then you can be considered to be a public institution.
So our telcos, for example, if something happened and some very pertinent information was required, you can go to them under this portion of the Act.
Yes. And multimedia.
Yes.
So you're providing a public service in that you're dealing with the public and putting out information. So if somebody wants to find out something about multimedia with regards to them as citizens, then you fall under the umbrella of the Act and need to respond.
The Right to Information Bill was, it toured Parliament, so to speak, for a long time, many years before we got it to be passed into law. What fundamentally does the law seek to achieve? Yes, you've mentioned that these are the institutions that are affected and requests can be made from the public, but what does the law seek to achieve?
I believe that the law just seeks to ensure that people are informed, have the facts, are able to access the necessary information they need to make informed choices, and to be able to play their roles more effectively. Because if you have information, then you know exactly what you have to do. And I think that is what the law seeks to achieve. Make sure that everybody is part of the democratic system and is contributing to ensuring that we are a democratic nation.
Well, tied to the RTI law, we also have an RTI commission. I guess the next question would be, what is the mandate of that commission? Can you tell us?
So the commission was set up to promote, to monitor, to evaluate, and to enforce the right to information. So that is basically what we have to do. Make sure that we are implementing the Act and making sure that the Act is functional.
Right.
So we need to go out and sensitize people on the fact that they have every right to get the information they need. And that is basically what the Commission is doing. We are creating awareness, we are sensitizing people, and we are making sure that people use the Act to their benefit.
Let me ask you, over this period that you've been, so to speak, policing the RTI law and what it stipulates versus how states or other public institutions react to it. What has it been like? What are some of the encounters? I know some of them that we will eventually be getting into, but what has it been like for the Commission these past few years?
We were commissioned in 2020, October. We have toured, I think, 10 out of the 16 regions to create awareness and sensitize the public on Right to Information Act. I believe that it is a slow process. People are now beginning to understand and grasp the Act. And so we probably would be looking a lot more at the public being able to use the Act to access the information that they need. And so we continue to sensitize, we continue to create awareness. But being a government institution that is under-resourced, we still have a lot of challenges because you need money to be able to roll out all these programs. But then we started slowly, we are getting there. We are getting people now coming to the Commission with appeals. And so, we have started, we roll out maybe 8 to 10 requests probably in a week. I don't know how many in a month, but
8 to 10 in a week.
Yes, but we're getting people coming in, and then our outcomes are not always what the appellants expect. So a couple have taken us to court. We have also taken a couple to court.
Wow.
So we need to continue. And it would be very good if the public tests the law. Test the law by going out to see if you can get the information you need. And if you're not getting it, if you're denied, make sure that you come to the Commission. And then we'll take it up from there and make sure that if it's not exempt information, that's information that you can't get because it's not being used, or it poses some security or safety challenges, then we'll make sure that the institutions give you the information that you need.
You know, when you were speaking about testing the RTI law, I recall how Kojo Ponkroma, Information Minister, had said same at a point that even on the back of people complaining that, look, sometimes you go and you hit a brick wall. He said, go ahead and test it. But sometimes that's exactly what happens. You test it and you hit a brick wall. You hit a dam of water. But I'd like to find out then, so these institutions are supposed to have public information manuals, these institutions.
Yes.
They are supposed to have that. From your checks, and I'm sure as I don't know whether to call you a regulator, so to speak, but you're policing that sector.
Once we are monitoring, yes.
Do your checks reveal that all of them actually do have this in place?
No. No, they all don't have it in place, and I believe it will take a while. I was surprised to know that we have 700 and counting institutions that we are supposed to be monitoring and evaluating.
That's a lot.
Yes, and so you can just imagine that you won't have 700 of them doing everything at the same time or being on point at the same time. So it's a slow process, but we encourage that they do have the manuals. First and foremost, they need to have information units and have information officers, which is very important, so that when you're going for the information, you know particularly where you're going. You're going to the information officer to make sure that your request is taken down, and then the process starts from there. And so every institution is being encouraged to have an information unit and have an information officer. If you do not employ an information officer, you can designate an officer in the institution to act as an information officer. And so people know where to go. And
so if I were to go to Enterprise A or Ministry B or Agency C, I would know that this is the desk
Yes.
For the information officer, and when I want whatever piece of information, I can go here. If the person isn't able to give me that information, at least I can count on that person to try to get the information and get back to me.
For you, exactly. Exactly, and that is what we are monitoring. And when you talk about the manual, every institution is supposed to have an information manual. The manual does not give you the information you need. It directs you to where you can get the information. So if you have an information manual, and I should look through your information manual, I should be able to determine what sorts of information I'll get from your institution.
And if the information I am seeking is not within that fray, at least it makes me know where I can go to get the information I need.
The information officer would be able to direct you to where you get that information.
I mean, if I went to the GRA, for example, and I wanted information, if it weren't in that catchment area, it would give me steps about how I can get that information. But how then?
Or the information would be, the information officer, if it's still within the GRA ambit, can source that information from wherever you get it from for you. But more often than not, they would redirect you to where you get that information from.
Let's talk compliance, because that is where they say the devil is in the detail. The devil of the RTI law is in compliance so far. Even we media houses try to get, I am sure you recall how when the whole issue about Togbe Afede saying that he had returned some money and the Council of State, being called upon by media entities, look, give us information. It got to the point where some entities were even being referred to another person who had gone for information and was now being told, go to that person, when you were addressing a state institution that give us the information. So do you enforce some sort of compliance? How have you been going about it thus far?
Yes, it's important to enforce compliance. And when you talk about the Council of State issue with Metro TV, and the Togbe Afede issue, we are saying that you have the information as an institution. So you, as Metro TV, come for information. You are an appellant. So if I go to Council of State, I'm also an appellant.
Exactly.
So it's not for Metro TV to give anybody the information of Council of State. What we are saying is that Council of State should have been proactive to publish whatever information had been given to Metro TV. Because once you have given it to one entity, we take it that you have given it to everybody. So just publish it, put it on your website, put it in some open space where everybody can see. So you are not inundated with requests for the same information. And so that is where they erred. They needed to put out that information once they had given it. And then you don't redirect to some other person for your information.
And I suppose that is what in different instances we see happening. We'll get to some of them, but where some of them even insist that, we can't give you this information or you must pay X sum of money and all of that. But I just want to take a quick step back. So the information units that you were just speaking of, you mentioned that there are 700 institutions under your jurisdiction, so to speak. How many of them are compliant so far? Do you know? And if not, what are the plans, maybe, just to ensure that over time they all become compliant? Is there a timeline?
We have a timeline, and we are looking at the end of probably next year.
End of next year.
Because I believe that it takes time, and not everybody, like I said, that we're still sensitizing institutions. And so if we're still sensitizing institutions, then you know that not everybody is aware of exactly what they have to do, or the part that they have to play in ensuring that the act is made manifest. So we still need to sensitize, we still need to create awareness, and therefore we take it one step at a time. I think that the corporate affairs of RTI is doing a good job in sensitization. So we are going from institution to institution. But again, like I said, we've done 10 regions already. We have 6 more to do.
Right.
So we are just saying that we haven't done everybody yet. So we just can't hold everybody's hand to the fire. We need to be able to, and gradually and sure, that the law is properly understood. And when it's understood, I believe that the people would know that it's even for their own benefit. So they'll begin to work with it.
Great. We're still here having an interaction with our guest, Elizabeth Hasari, if you like. She's a deputy chairperson of the RTI Commission. My very next step, a very basic one. So someone out there maybe is watching us and thinking, I need to go to this public institution for information. What are the basic steps? How does someone initiate the process of getting information from a public institution?
Okay, so you know what kind of information you want and you know where you want to go. So you first go to the information officer and make your request.
Within the institution?
Within the institution. And the Act ensures that your request is put into writing. Okay. So that even if you can't read and write in English, the information officer is supposed to be able to do that for you and explain it to you. And then if you agree, you thumbprint. Within 14 days, the information officer will tell you if they'll be able to get that information for you or not.
Within 14 days?
Within 14 days. If within that 14 days she hasn't gotten it for you, then you can appeal to the head of the institution that you went for the information and you probably haven't gotten it within 14 days. Within 30 days, the institution is supposed to respond to you. And then...
Is it 30 days after the 14 days or 30 days as part of the... inclusive of the 14 days? I just wanted to be a bit...
I believe it's 30 days after the 14 days. Okay. Because 14 days, then you'd say that you haven't been given the information you want.
Okay.
After 30 days, you can say that you've been denied the information by the institution.
Great.
And then you can come to the commission to appeal. Again, we have a certificate of urgency where within 48 hours you should be able to get the information you want. You don't have to give any reason as to why you need the information. But when you go...
So you don't have to come and justify yourself that, no, I want the information. But there's also there's also what they would call sensitive information. How do you go about that?
Sensitive information, I'm sure, is exempt information. Okay. So from clause 5 to 17 of the Act, it deals with exempt information that you probably wouldn't get. But again, there's the Harms test. If the information is important to make sure that things go on well, or it's in the interest of the population to get that information, then you can't deny them that information, so that information will have to be put out.
So what you're saying basically is some information could even be in the Act stipulated as being exempt, yet based on what it would do to the public. If it's in the public interest, an institution could be compelled to give out that information.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what has to happen. And when I was talking about within 48 hours getting it under a certificate of urgency, you have to explain why it is urgent. You don't have to explain why you need the information, but you need to explain why you think that you need it urgently.
So in this instance, as you've made it clear, there's the 48-hour system, depending on what information you're seeking. Then there's the 14-day window, within which time, if you've not got a response, you can petition. And then if after 30 days, then it means basically you're being denied this information. Then what next?
You come to the Right to Information Commission to appeal that you wanted some information from some public institution and you haven't gotten it. Then we would vet the information. We would see whether the information is exempt or is not exempt. And then we would compel the institution to give you the information if it's not exempt.
Okay, but if the information was exempt, for starters, and somehow you didn't know of it, and the institution also did not take the time to give you, the information that this is actually exempt, we can't give this to you, what happens to the institution? I mean, because many institutions would simply not maybe respond to the person, and maybe all they had to do was tell you that this is exempt information, but they will let you go through the processes, spend time going back and forth. What is the law? What does the
So there's
law
some
say
penalties that institutions would have to pay for not giving you information, and it includes telling you that it is exempt information. Because if you go to them and the information is exempt, they need to tell you that the information is exempt, and that is the reason why you won't get it. So at every step, there's the need for there to be a response from the institution that you're seeking information from.
So this also brings to mind, there was a question that I had on my mind. I think I'll get to it when it comes back. But so what happens when an applicant is denied information is that there are processes. Yes, now I get it. From the outset, when someone is applying for information, should they copy the Right to Information Commission? At what stage should you get to know? Or is it only when they have attempted and not received the information they want, or there are impediments that they should reach out to you?
Yes, you don't need to copy us. You need to go through the process, and the process is for you to seek the information from the institution, and when you do not get it, that is where we come in. So you don't need to copy us, you don't need to tell us anything, but when you're being denied the information and you come to us, then we will make sure that if the information is not exempt, the institution responds to you.
So know as well that it's not every piece of information that you are entitled to. There is exempt information. That is important to be put out there. You collaborate with state agencies, state institutions to sustain this awareness. I know there's the National Commission for Civic Education, but it can't do what this law gets into. It will do something in terms of civic education, but this goes way beyond that. So how do you collaborate then with other state institutions?
So we do have stakeholders who are supporting us. We have the Media Foundation for West Africa. We have the Right to Information Coalition, and we have some other institutions that have come just to support. And like I said in the...
Voluntarily?
Yes. No, well, yes, let me say voluntary, because we make a request and they just come and support. And we have had ASEP and we have had Habtel. And I think there are a few others that have supported.
You mean the Africa Center on Energy Policy?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there are a few others who help us with our programs. And the institutions that we go to sensitize do help us. Even multimedia, giving us space to talk about what we do and create awareness by speaking on what the act is. So we do have stakeholders, we do have partners that help us. And therefore we are able to move a little. You know that what grinds the wheel for us to be able to move is finance. And if we don't have it, and we have all these stakeholders helping us because they know that it's important for the Right to Information mandate to stay, because it gives us an opening to keep our governments and our public institutions on their toes. Then we can say that we are grateful for the help that we are getting and for the push that we are getting. It gives us the feeling that people are beginning to buy into the Right to Information and beginning to understand that it is important that everybody has that right and accesses information for whatever they need it for.
Right.
Let me add that in the beginning, a lot of people had this erroneous impression that the Right to Information was mainly for the media. And I keep saying that it is not a media law. It is for everybody, as long as you're in this country. Even foreigners who come in who want information for whatever reason, maybe because
they want to set up a business.
Maybe they want to set up a business, maybe they want to become resident, can go and get the necessary information they need.
So speaking of which, I'd like to just find out, apart from the regions where you've been going for these sensitization drives, are there any members of these public institutions, the 700 or so that you've been reaching out to sensitize them as well?
Yes. We have done quite a number of sensitization programs, GRA, ECG, Exim Bank, quite a number of the institutions. We keep going around and sensitizing them. And we keep writing for them to give us that space to come and interact with them, because For some of the institutions, they probably know about the act, but they haven't done anything with regards to it. And some of even the institutions that we think are obviously public institutions do not believe that they are public institutions.
Oh, I see.
Even though they are performing a public function and maybe using public funds.
Right.
They do not see them. They see themselves as more in the private sector because it was set up in the private sector arena. But once you're doing a public service, you're considered, according to the Act, to be a public institution.
Okay. The next question I'm going to ask is slightly mischievous in a way, but I'll ask it all the same. You know how, for example, the law students, those hoping to get into the Ghana School of Law, for example, recently we saw that disclaimer, so to speak, which they had to, for lack of a better word, I'm using the word disclaimer, sign, append their signatures to saying that, among other things, you don't even have the right to see your answer script and the scores you had and all of that. Now, can any such student, or expanding it, whether it's the BEC or WASI, can any student appeal to see their scripts, know their scores in all of these facets of our education under the RTI? So BEC, WASI, Ghana School of Law, all of these. Can that happen?
I won't encourage it.
You won't encourage it?
No, I won't, because you see, it borders on should I say, absurdity, and I know some people will get angry for me saying so. But who is to determine when you take a professional exam who is marking your script? So you have external examiners who probably scripts are sent to be marked, going back and forth. And you have thousands and thousands of people who are doing these exams. When you want to see your script, if your script is sent to an examiner, and when you're talking about WASI, the examiner is out of.
Well, at least now we know for the WASI it is just for Ghana, because we've moved away from. So now,
yes.
would that change the picture?
It still will, because if your examiner is in the Upper East or Upper West, am I going to get all those scripts back?
Right.
To be able to determine region by region who sat where. So it gives the institution some extra work that probably isn't necessary. You would see your raw score, yes. But to be able to get your script, to go through your script.
In the case of the law students, it's a professional organization, and maybe I might extend it to the ACCAs and the ICAGs and all of that. How about that? This is a specific institution. They are performing public work. People from the public are enrolling and getting certification. Don't these people, in instances where it says you can't do this, which some people find erroneous even when it comes to our laws, can't these people under the RTI say, I want that information, I want to know what my score was? You say I didn't pass, what was my score?
Oh, you probably would see your score, but you probably won't get your script. So if you want to see your score, you probably will be able to get your raw score, but you probably won't be able to get.
But if you don't get to see the script, how can you do any analysis of whether this was, if I feel I should have scored over 50% and you tell me I scored 10%?
You see, these are professional bodies, and you're not even in the institution yet. You are now applying to get into law school. And law school can take maybe so many. And then the number that sits the exam is maybe 4 or 5 times more than what the school can take. If everybody gets to see their script and everybody gets to think that they should have passed, then what happens? That's why I think that it's a slight border.
It's a fine line, eh?
Exactly, and I believe that the institutions should stand their ground. When I sat common entrance, I didn't see my script. I heard what my score was. I got into school.
Yeah, the only problem is now there are so many and things about, do you know there are instances where supposedly, I'll not mention the name of the institution, but people who didn't even sit a certain professional exam were found to be in this institution. So that is where it becomes problematic, where people feel, maybe I did my best, I feel I passed, yet I was sidelined for someone who probably didn't even sit the examination and has got in. Those are the undercurrents.
Those are the undercurrents, and even with that, it even goes to this basic school placement system that we
SSPS.
Exactly, and people think that, well, I passed, but I didn't get my first choice school. I had so many. I had excellent grades. Why didn't I get? But you see, then there's still that problem of having to deal with this fine line kind of thing. So instead of stressing it and stretching it, let us see that with the information that we have for the institutions, we can call the institutions credible enough.
Right.
So the institutions should be able to set up and make sure that they protect their integrity. So people don't point fingers and say that, oh, well, I did the exam, I didn't get in. People didn't sit the exam, but you have them on your roll.
Right before we get into your RTI week and what you'll be doing, I'd just like to find out. So you've spoken about some funding gaps, so to speak, maybe logistical constraints that you have. What are the real constraints you have in terms of funding? Can you give us some idea in terms of logistics, in terms of human resource? Where are you lacking? I think by putting the information out there, maybe you might have other ASEPs and others who may also feel, okay, so we can assist you in this way and come on board. But what is the reality?
The reality is that we have an office. We have a staff of 127, which is woefully inadequate. We are looking at getting at 400 plus because we are going to spread nationwide. We are looking at making sure that we have offices in all our regional capitals. We have an extended plan even to have district offices. But right now we are looking at zonal offices, and even with the zonal offices, we haven't started yet. So we have the country in 5 zones, and so we'll start with the zonal offices, then we'll go to regional offices, and then we'll go to district offices. But even to think that our national headquarters is inadequately staffed, then we have a big problem. But
I mean, if that place is understaffed, you can't even think of other offices because you.
But we are just starting, and again, you know, when you start something like this, it must be capital intensive, because if you're looking at zonal offices, then it means that you need to get a premise. You need to get premises where you start these offices. You need to be able to staff them. You need to be able to give them vehicles, furniture in the offices. So if I start to say that we are cash strapped or we are inadequately funded, you begin to understand. Because
so you are in fact cash strapped.
Yes. And with ASEP and HAPTEL, they have come in and given us some of the basic equipment that we are working with, our computers, our laptops, our printers, you know, so there's a lot that we need. So others should also follow suit and come help us, because it's for God and country.
Just to push this a knot, what would you require in, let's say, a year in terms of funding? And how much are you getting? So you're funded by the state, right? Okay, so let's say, is it that you need about $10 million or 10 million CDs and you're getting X amount? What is it?
I wish my finance people were here. I don't have it off the top of my head, so I can't tell you off the top of my head what we require, but we do require a lot. And if you get in touch with us, we probably would be able to have discussions, probably outside of here. And so I will put out, or you can put out, how we can be reached.
You can go ahead.
Oh, no, you go on.
All right.
So we have all that, and you have all that we have.
So it's about, and I think eventually we can put this as and when we have it available. The Right to Information Commission, just for those who might want to pass through, it's located at number 4 Osubedu Link, Airport West Residential Area. And the Ghana Post address is GA 156 1702. GA 156 1702. And the phone number, you'd like me to put it out, right? 0302 788 353. 0302 788 353. 3. And of course, they can be reached at www.rtic.gov.ga. So you're on the Ghana.gov platform.
Yes.
All right. So www.rtic.gov.ga.
And for those who want to get in touch with us, they can also use their email. So you probably in the
RTI
Western
Commission
North, and you have been denied some information and you want to get in touch with us. You don't necessarily have to travel all the way to Accra. You can use the email and then would answer you, would deal with you.
All right. Let's wrap with your RTI week. It starts on the 17th of September.
Yes, it started on the 17th.
In fact, it did start. We've gone past the 17th.
Yes, and we did have a press launch, and then we had a health walk.
Okay.
On Saturday.
Where did you walk to?
We walked from the office to the AstroTurf PSEC.
Okay.
So from Jowulu to PSEC. That's about 8.26 kilometers. And it's interesting, we had a lot of people walk.
That's interesting. I could have joined you because
you could have.
I do more than that on a certain day every week.
Okay.
I do about 11K every week.
So next year.
So maybe your team would start joining me.
So maybe we would extend. It will depend where we'll walk to next year. But we believe that we'll make it a yearly routine. And for some of our staff, I think that it should be weekly.
Maybe. So it has started already. What more is in the
so
pipeline?
on Sunday, we would have the What Do You Know quiz at GTV. So we have that. And then on Monday, we have a stakeholders conference at the RTI office. It's open. Our stakeholders will be there. If you want to come and question us on anything, you're invited to. And then on the 28th, which I think is Wednesday, that's the International Day for the Universal Access to Information. And so that is what we'll climax the week with. And so there'll be a forum at Alisa Hotel also for the public, and we expect that our stakeholders will also be there. Talk more.
So anyone can pass through?
I believe so.
Alrighty. Well, maybe just to wrap off the conversation, plans going forward, what more can we expect from the RTI Commission this year and in the coming years?
I believe that ours is to roll out the mandate that has been given us to protect, promote, evaluate, and monitor and enforce the RTI Act. And like we keep saying, nobody's above the law. So we are determined to implement the Act to its fullest, making sure that we are fair, we are firm, and we are open. And therefore, we as a people need to ensure that we get the necessary information that we need. The information actually has been paid for by our taxpayers, you know, so the information is ours. It's not for the institution. The institutions have kept the information to themselves and think that it is their right to have that information. But that information is for the people of Ghana, and so we should be able to access it. And I say that information is key to the development of our democracy. And so we need to get the requisite information. We need to build our democracy and to build it properly.
We'll also be looking forward to having your tentacles, so to speak, spread to all 700 public institutions so that we can start getting a lot more from them.
We are looking to spreading it even beyond there. All the corners of the country should have our tentacles, so people do not have to be denied the necessary information that they need. Because if information is life, if information will make sure that you grow as a person in this state and have a voice, then you must be able to get the information that you need.
I'm just thinking of some of the things that I could do with some pieces of information. But it's refreshing.
I hope not naughty.
No, nothing mischievous. No, definitely not. All in the public interest.
Yes.
But Elizabeth Asari is Deputy Chairperson of the RTI, Right to Information Commission. She just joined us. Very, insightful, refreshing conversation. We wish you the very best and hope that we can expand and do more.
Yes, we will. We've started small, but we intend to grow.
Great, great. Well, On the back of that conversation, we'll be moving on to our very next conversation after the break. And the National Road Safety Authority is seeking to restrict minibuses to intra-city travel of not more than 40 kilometers. The NRSA says this will reduce the carnage on our roads. How so? We'll find out after the break.
Welcome back to the AM show. Now, the National Road Safety Authority is seeking to restrict minibuses to intra-city travels of not more than 40 kilometers. The National Road Safety Authority says this will reduce the carnage on our roads. Joining me for this conversation is Engineer David Adonting, who's the Acting Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, and Sisa Gabra, who's the CEO of Top Tech Transport and Logistics. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you so much for your time. Good morning.
Hello, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
All right. So before I come to you, I want us to look at the stats. Commercial minibuses involved in traffic road crashes from 2018 to 2021. Now, the categories of vehicles involved in crashes, we have a 37% commercial and 21% cycle, and private is 42%. Now, between the period of 2018 to 2021, a total of 98,441 vehicles were involved in crashes. So 36,798 were commercial vehicles and 41,247 were private vehicles and 20,396 cycles of all categories. So from the figure above, about 37,798 commercial vehicles were involved in crashes. 11,487 were minibuses, representing the 31%. Now, let me start with Engineer David, and I want to know why you're imposing these restrictions. Aren't there any other alternatives aside from this one?
Cherished listeners and viewers. My greetings also regard to all of you and to my friend Mr. Java. It is, I think the statistics are very clear, as you have already demonstrated to everybody watching or listening. We have observed very clearly the behavior of these minibuses, especially these new ones, that have come into the system. Being operated by QM Express, by OA, and then a section of the GPRC. On the Accra Highway and all the other highways, the speed levels are very high. They are not obeying the rules or regulations. Transport to overtake anyhow without due care to other road users and so on. We are recording numbers in terms of crashes, deaths, and injuries from this particular group. Now, there are a couple of options that we have discussed. We call them, we all start together and give them some opportunity to introduce some internal mechanisms to control their drivers, including putting in their vehicle traffic tracking systems that they can be able to monitor their behavior while in traffic. And then when they come back and they identify that one or two of them have misbehaved and not disobeying the traffic rules and regulations, then they put in place some suspension or dismissal mechanism to put there into them. We have observed that in the past couple of weeks after the discussion, the situation has not changed. And so we are compelled under our law to issue this alert to warn them and give them a certain period beyond which, if we continue and to see them still behaving in a way that jeopardizes the lives and property of other Ghanaians, then we have no option than to restrict their movement. And that is one of the stiffest sanctions that we can give, beyond which perhaps we can maybe say we halt their operation. So these are the two things we may consider. It's either we suspend the operation, halt the operation, or even revoke their license of vaping. And these are the options that we are considering.
All right, so I'll come back to you. But Cecil, from your experience, do you think what the National Road Safety Authority is doing is feasible?
I'm very happy. Some of us have been advocating for this move a very long time. And I'm happy with my very good friend and colleague David's move. Right, after all, what are we looking at? We are looking at reducing the carnage on the road, which is quite high in terms of minibuses.
Yeah.
Right, and then I will even start from where minibuses have become commercial vehicles, because if you look at the type of buses that are being converted to be minibuses that are traveling, it's all wrong. If you look at the original make of vehicles, minibuses that will carry passengers, it has a very long roof, okay? And then, I mean, you can walk in, and it's been designed for such purpose. And if you look at even the seats, all the seats have got seat belts, okay, installed in them. But then, if you come back to what we have that are being converted, I mean, it's quite realistic that you cannot even fix seat belts in them. Okay, they are not according to the weight of such vehicles, they were not made to pick up passengers, pick up human beings. They were made to pick up lightweight materials such as plywood and so on. So why do we in the first place, and this goes to DVL, why do we even go to the extent to commercialize such vehicles to pick passengers? So it is wrong. I'm quite happy with the move. It's a step towards the right direction, and then just like I said, after all, what are we looking at? We are looking at reducing the carnage on the road, reducing the death on our road, so that you and I will feel free to drive and then arrive alive in one piece and not in pieces. So this is my stake for now, but then a lot more work must be done, and I'm sure David is listening to me. Right, what about those buses that we are going to rely on, OA and so on? This is the time for us to conduct an audit to find out whether their vehicles are roadworthy, whether the drivers are right to drive, what plans do they have? I mean, if they are not going to work, then that's also another thing that we need to look at. And then the BRT system, which we brought to Ghana in some years without segregated road, I am also of the view that it's an opportunity to look at it again. Now, when it was being introduced, some of us said BRT is not going to work because we do not have segregated roads. And it is true, we brought such buses, and then the buses are now trotros and so on, right? And that should be only in Accra. But then for these buses, this minibus, I'm really, really happy. And we need to emulate what Côte d'Ivoire is also doing. Côte d'Ivoire has got a system where those minibuses cannot drive, let's say, from Joy FM to Tema. They are limited. Okay, that is even less than 40 kilometers. But it's a step towards the right direction. As we have started, I do believe that National Road Safety Authority, led by my very good friend, will have many more ideas, share with us, so that we all look at one thing, which is carnage, reducing the carnage on the roads.
All right, now let me go back to David. You mentioned you'll put some tracking systems or maybe suspend drivers who misbehave, revoke their licenses. How sure are we that it will work?
Yeah, so these are some of the mechanisms we have incorporated into the road traffic regulation and also in the National Road Safety Authority Act and the regulations. We have the mandate as an authority now to regulate the commercial public transport system. And there are standards that we all will periodically issue out in terms of directives and alerts to these operators to comply with. Some are compliant. For example, the one we brought up a couple of months ago regarding group drivers for long distances, and most of them are compliant. We are monitoring those who are not. We are finding ways of issuing some sanctions against them. There are others about training their drivers, and they are monitoring that and issuing out the necessary sanctions and so on. So periodically, our data and our observation break out certain areas that need that we put our feet down and deal with it once and for all. This is what we are observed as regards this other business. And so in this 1 month, we're given, in fact, maximum 1 month, we are going to go on the ground to now observe their behavior.
Okay.
Mind you, this is a measure that has already been tried a couple of years ago. Toyota Hills used to be killing people and naming them separately, and then we put these measures in place and we restricted their movement to intra-city. And most of them became front doors and so on. This one, they have come in numbers, very good condition, new one, air conditioning. They travel at long distances, speeds are high, wrongful overtaking, and because they spend less hours reaching Kumasi, for example, 2.5 hours, they are in Kumasi, 2.5 hours, which is unacceptable. And so when they get to the scale for loading, in no time it gets full because people patronize a lot, but they are killing them. And so as we have issued this warning and this notice, we are going to ensure that we comply with it. If they don't, then we will crack the whip, and which then we put them on their feet. But in between, we will still engage them because it is important for them to appreciate and understand. So that we can all, as my good friend Tito said, be in the same team and be doing the work together. Then whoever takes us for granted, that's where we will show our power.
Engineer, I don't think, I mean, I'm glad you said you would, like, you know, talk to them, because at the end of the day, this is an attitude thing. You know, you need to educate them of the, I'm sure, like the dangers involved in the reckless overtaking, the high speed. So how are you going to do that? Because at the end of the day, it's an attitude thing.
As I speak to you, we have issued strong instructions to them.
Okay.
3 months ago to let their drivers go through mandatory training. That training, we together with the DPLA are the ones that are conducting for them. All the drivers must go through that training, and it's mandatory.
Okay.
We have also informed them to put sanctions mechanisms within their system, the operational system. We have asked them to also ensure that they put in tracking systems so that they can monitor their drivers, and whoever misbehaves and will not comply with their own internal arrangements, he will be suspended or perhaps his license revoked, not to operate within their system again. So these are measures that we have given them, and those are the indicators that we're going to go around to ensure that they comply with. I am sure that they understand because we have met them a couple of times. We have discussed together. They have given us all the necessary promises that they were going to deliver. Unfortunately, they are not delivering, which means that they themselves are not in control when it comes to the safety, the loading point, and the destination. And I think this is where we're going to strengthen our monitoring and then our observation and come back to them again.
All right, so let me come back to you, Cecil. Are there any other alternatives?
Well, the alternative is zero.
Okay.
I always talk about enforcement. So just like my very good friend David is saying, it's a time to let them know the realities in what work they are doing. Okay, because all what they think of is money, money, money. I mean, how can you do 4 or 5 hours to Kumasi and then they are not planning their trip? If they plan their trip, that will be an excellent move, but it's too late for them. We want to save a lot of lives. So I support entirely what National Road Safety Authority is doing. Their moves are correct. It's long overdue. You give them rope, change your attitude. It's all about attitudinal changes. And then I also pray that we'll take advantage for those buses to fix speed limiters as it's indicated in the LI. I'm sure, David, the new LI is in there. And I do believe that if we also put all those in place, at least just what I'm saying, one goal, save lives and save properties so that we all arrive in one piece and not in pieces. That's all we're looking at.
Yeah.
So I'm for it and let it go. I just pray that we don't have any political intervention to say that, hey, don't do it and so on and so forth. No, that is not too good. Let's leave the authority to perform its work. We have the men to do it.
Well, Engineer Adonting, how long are you giving the transport unions, to put their drivers in order before you impose this directive?
We're giving them a maximum of 30 days or 1 month, if you like.
Okay.
Because it's something we have already met them a couple of times.
Yeah.
And 3 months ago, the Ministry of National Security also gave their input. They brought a letter indicating their observation, and they also mentioned that their behavior is a completely threat. So it's something that we have engaged each other for a couple of times.
Okay.
And it's a serious. And so we do not intend to give them long months, because the more we wait, the more they keep killing and maiming people. So we're giving them a maximum of 1 month for them to change their attitude. And I like you when you brought out the issue of attitude. It is attitudinal, and they must just take their attitude.
Yeah.
They must behave well. They must comply with the rules of the game. They must respect the law, respect road users, other road users on the street. Not to fly like the aircraft as they want to do now. If they are able to do that, then we will all work in harmony to ensure that we stay alive and arrive alive at all times. Otherwise, then I think we will go for the ultimate.
Okay, so what happens after the 30 days?
After the 30 days, our observation, our data, our research and our statistics will give a clear indication that as our law mandates us, we may call their operation for them to prove to us beyond all doubt that they are ready to now comply with the rules and the regulations before perhaps we bring them back into the game again. So they say a situation where the operations can be halted and they will not operate again, or they face a situation where they will be suspended completely, or maybe their license for operations also revoked. These are the mechanisms that have been provided to us by law. But when we get there, I'm sure the situation will determine which of the sanctions that we can apply.
Okay. Mr. Cecil Gabra, let me get your last words.
Good. Kudos to David. And David, my doors are open. Let's share more ideas. Let's deal with the situation so we can all have an easy drive in town, traveling, and then we can still again arrive alive. And then we'll not go to any funerals and say, oh, what killed him, road accident. And so that's all we want. And it's a step towards the right direction. So David, please go ahead and just consult some of us to give you many more ideas.
All right, Engineer, I don't think it's a step in the right direction. Any last words?
I want to thank all the supporters. I thank you so much for your support. I thank multimedia for your support, your continued support under the Drive Safe, Alive Alive, and Stay Alive campaign. I also want to encourage our friends and colleagues, stakeholders, the public transport operators, that we are not aimed to threaten or kind of worry them in their business. We want them to drive well and to bring sanity into the road space where you and I can travel in their market efficiently, conveniently, and safely to go and come back safely to meet our families. This year, 8 months alone, we have recorded about 1,600 deaths already as at the end of August. We are moving into Christmas. And you know what it means when this last 3 months, gets into the year. We are more stronger on the ground. Our men are on the ground. The police are going to support us. So we expect everybody, the media and all stakeholders, to continue to support the National Road Safety Authority. We need to reduce the death, the injuries. Everything we can do within the law and the mandate of the law, we will do it. We need the support of Ghanaians. As Cecil said, this is not political, this is not personal, it is a collective responsibility for Ghana.
Yeah.
Currently, we have reduced fatalities by 16% compared to last year. We want to sustain it, and these are some of the mechanisms we can put in place to sustain and make sure that we are safe on our road.
Well, you mentioned support. Talking about support, how have the transport unions received these directives?
I am sure if you fall upon them now, they will give their input as regards this particular directive, because they are aware of some of these things. Because when we met them and we discussed it, I think they were all a bit apprehensive as to what happens between the loading terminal and then the destination. What it means is that they are able to control the lorry station. But when they move onto the street and to the highway, they don't have control again. And if we have come out to indicate to them what we see and observe, they even appreciate and they are ready to support us. If you talk to DPRT, you talk to cooperatives, Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council, they will indicate to you the kind of cooperation and collaboration all of us are working and the states in which we are working. I think that the collaboration is good, the partnership is good, and we expect that we continue to work with that for the good of public safety on our road. We are convinced that this is something that will help all of us, and we enjoy their support currently.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. My guests were Engineer David Adonton, who's the Acting Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, and Sisa Gabra, who is the CEO of Top Tech Transport and Logistics. Well, hello. How about treating your family to a summer holiday in South Africa? Come journey to South Africa for a good time in our beautiful country. Get to know the locals and our languages. If you're looking to let your hair down and relax, or you're just in the mood for some fun, family-friendly adventures, South Africa has got everything you need. This summer, Wazanila and experience a holiday worth talking about. Hello Ghana, happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water from Kasopeco Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water. Text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780# and you click option 2 on all prompts on all networks for free. Be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You can also win TVs, fridges, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and more instantly. Don't waste time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Terms and conditions applied. You're still watching the AM show. We're going to take a quick breather. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to the AM show. Hello, Benjamin. Good morning.
It's good you're saying hello, welcoming me back on the show. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here with you. How are you doing?
I'm okay. A little tired, but it's I guess everybody can say same. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's this wave or this energy of just people are tired, people are exhausted, especially after COVID-19.
Yeah.
A lot of people got they're just exhausted. There's just something in the air. I don't know what it is, but
and recently I've been combating a cold. I've dealt with it on different levels, but
it's
the energy level is just a bit.
Yeah.
I think man must, very soon we'll take a break. We'll take a little breather. It's important to keep our sanity.
Trust me, I'm minister of taking breaks. I believe in taking
minister
breaks.
of taking breaks.
Yes, I will take a break anytime and anywhere. Anyways, Benjamin, you had some interesting conversations earlier this morning.
Yep.
Tell me about them.
The right to information. It's interesting. We've been playing with it even as media people, for example. But there are exemptions, for example, and we know some of them are security-related matters. Others are, depending on the institution, there may be some things that even within an RTI law, you may not be able to get. So I was having that discourse with Liz Hayfon-Asari, who is an assistant deputy director of the Right to Information Commission. But interestingly, Mapito, some of what she said, they are constrained when it comes to logistics. They are cash-strapped. I think she said they had only 127 staff at the main head office. They've not, devolved yet into the different districts. They are hoping for zonal offices, but they need about 400 of these. And in terms of cash, she wasn't able to give me the specifics, but they are cash-strapped. So that is one of the issues I looked at. I also know you were looking at the road situation, and tell us a bit about that.
So now the National Road Safety Authority has some intentions to restrict commercial operators of minibuses to intracity services or routes not exceeding 40 kilometers. Right. Yeah, and then so now what they do is that they're imposing some restrictions. So what they're doing, they have to start with the drivers, right? Because I was talking to engineer Adonting. Yeah, and I was telling him that this is an attitude thing. Before anything else, this is an attitude thing, because the drivers be like, I want to reach Kumasi in like 2 hours, instead of like the recommended 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
But before I continue, let's go to Kumasi with Abendao. Is there? Good morning, Abendao.
Good morning, Mapito and Akakpo.
Hello, good to have you.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to share my view a little on the Right to Information Bill. Why?
It's a law now, by the way. It's a law.
Okay. But is it all that easily accessed? Because at times we can have some policy or law which is theoretical, but practically when you attempt to access it or put it into practice, you will see it otherwise. Because with this, I can remember that you asked the madam as one of your panelists that does it have a time limit that you are supposed to access the information, or any duration that the information will be available? Maybe you need the information for about, let's say, 1 week or 2 weeks, but within 1 month the information is not being given to you. Is there any legal backing that you can push them forward, or has there been a time limit that the information does not exceed that duration, or any time at all? Because we know some institutions that you can even take a year. Information that you can have access to within 1 or 2 weeks, it can take even a year.
Yeah.
So has there been some limitation on the time period?
Okay, Abendao, just to give you a quick answer, there are some institutions, some pieces of information you could get within 48 hours. Others may require more time, but if within 14 days you've not got a response, you can, that is whether they are going to give you the information or not, you can initiate certain processes which would require an extra 30 days. If they still don't respond, then you can petition the Right to Information Commission. So there are processes to follow to get the information. And yes, there are punitive measures for such institutions. It appears a lot of people don't know that they have to reach out to the Right to Information Commission. But that is the process, and these institutions could actually be punished for that. Abendao, does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Great. But we're grateful that you took...
Let's see, practically, if everything will be as we expect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Mapito, she also made mention, I cited that issue to do with the Council of State and how people were referenced to a particular person within another media entity. And she said that was totally wrong. That because the Council of State, you are the agency, the institution. They petition you and you give out the information. In fact, to avoid any such petitions, you could have just made it public so that it could be easily accessed by everybody. But we also have the WA situation. I mean, I don't know whether we're going to get a call on that, but the WA situation and Kankani Adongo, who has now been apprehended. My real problem is the fact that the police sirens sort of scared off the real people who supposedly are behind this dastardly act. And now my heart is in my mouth, so to speak, for the residents of WA, because these killers supposedly are still on the loose.
Yeah.
Still on the loose.
So which means that the people there are still unsafe.
Very.
Yeah, and living in like uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are unfortunate. But let me go back to the National Road Safety Authority conversation. So there are 3 things that Engineer Donting mentioned on how they will try and, you know, regulate this. The first one is like a tracking system, you know.
Okay.
So they put tracking systems in the cars to know, in the buses, to know, okay, this is a driver who misbehaved, okay? So we know that Benjamin was driving at 140, 180 kilometers per hour. Okay, sure, we've written down his name.
Instead of the 40.
Instead of the 40, yeah. So he comes back to Accra. What we do is that we give him a warning. That's number 1. After that, we either suspend him or we take his license.
Okay, so
right.
that is if he's a continuous offender.
He's a continuous offender, right? But now the problem is that for the first time, he can, you know, go scot-free. The second time, he might get into an accident. So it's still very, like,
it's tricky, it's
very
dicey.
tricky, yeah, it's very, very dicey. But let's hope that it works. I mean, Cecil Garba said that he will, you know, assist them in any way. So let's hope that it works. But at the end of the day, it's an attitude problem. Once we deal with the people themselves, then we can, you know, move forward as a country. Let's go back to Kumasi. Michael, good morning. Michael, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's a pleasure having you, Mike. So what are your quick thoughts for us on the issues we've been discussing?
In fact, I have been enjoying the conversation this morning, and I'm glad to be part. First, a quick one on the right to information law. The woman, the lady, actually made mention of the exempt. And over the years, if you have followed the issue of people getting information from institutions, most of the time it's quite frustrating. And they use all sort of strategies to sort of deny people from information they want to have. Are they not going to use this exempt to deny people information they need? Because I don't know who determines which information is exempt and which one is not. And my second comment is on the road accident. I think I'm very happy about the new narrative a gentleman mentioned about certain vehicles that will not be allowed to travel within certain distance. I am for that. In fact, I am for that. I wish that one is enforced. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you too. Thanks for allowing us to come into your home or your phone or whatever gadget you're using to monitor us this morning. But it's been a good show.
It's fantastic.
It's been one of those shows where you actually get into this, you soak yourself in the conversation, and it's impacting society from the road safety conversation to the RTI conversation to the WA situation, which we hope would be, unraveled soon.
We hope so too. Yeah, I hope so too. Benjamin, that's it for the AM show. Let's
up next, definitely
next is News Desk.
Kojo Brace and his team will be serving us Joy News Desk. Hopefully they'll have more details to give us on the WA situation and beyond. But do stay for that. It's been a pleasure coming your way. Have a wonderful day. From Mapito CBD and Benjamin
Akakpo.
We say have a lovely day.